Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and the debate from yesterday just continues to rage. This whole issue about the BBC, the whole issue about Nigel Farage, and I just want to remind you what Asher and I discussed yesterday. So first of all, having a go at somebody who's Jewish about the Holocaust is not an acceptable thing to do. But always remember, teenage boys will lash out and hit the nuclear button in an argument. My issue is this. If somebody has said something off colour at school, that is a disciplinary matter for the school. It doesn't necessarily prove anything beyond that. Therefore, you know, if you were rude about somebody for being fat, if you were rude about somebody for the colour of their skin or whatever, that, in my view, is a function of being an adolescent and a child rather than it being a genuine statement of your own political views. Yeah. Now, what boils my blood more than anything else is this. Clearly, you know, Asher being Jewish, if you were to make a Holocaust joke to him, he'd be offended. But the BBC, who have consistently lied about Israel, who have spread false information that has led to people attacking Israeli soldiers, that has led to an increase
British
in
synagogues.
Exactly, you know, and all these terrorist attacks and whatever. These people at the BBC who have demonstrably damaged the well-being of Jewish people in Britain are attempting to smear Nigel Farage. Now, if he said something off colour when he was a kid, fine, discipline him as a kid, but for the BBC to turn around now, and I will say this to you, and this is a recap of what we discussed yesterday, if you are offended by something that is said in the playground at school, you go to the teacher, you go to the head of year, you go to the head teacher, you go to the prefect, you go to the head boy. If you were offended by something I said at school, you don't wait 44 years and then phone up the BBC about it, having never contacted me at all. You may well have been offended. I don't disagree with that. But it's a political attack. And I'm going to say to you, and you can disagree with me if you want, I'm not saying that people who express anti-Semitic views at school are not going to grow up to be anti-Semites. I'm saying to you that teenagers lash out, and something that a teenager has said in school cannot necessarily be taken as evidence that they hold that view, even at the time, 20 or 30 years later. It's utterly ridiculous. Now, Asher, I hand over to you simply because you have torn your hair out, figuratively, not literally, over the lies and dishonesty of the BBC. To watch them jump on their moral high horse about anti-Semitism.
I mean, they're the anti-Semitism experts, aren't they? I mean, but they hide it well, don't they, by cloaking it with the anti-Zionist sort of thing. But you look at the complaints, an average of 2 complaints a week about, you know, what's going on in Gaza, and it always seems to be, you know, because they say, oh, we get complaints from both sides, and they don't really. The complaints come from the Israeli side because they don't make any, you know, spurious or derogatory comments about the Hamas, do they? They won't even call them terrorists. I mean, they're their mates.
Who the British government categorise as terrorists.
Yeah, and they put Nasrallah's speech, was it Nasrallah, for 45 minutes, or the Iranian, I can't remember, but they just basically played it the whole lot on 45 minutes on the BBC, the president of Iran at the time. So he's not around anymore.
George Madgwick is a regular here. He's the leader of Reform UK in Portsmouth. George, you've heard what we've said, and no doubt that you are, you know, you're fired up and ready to go. But I had a text...
He doesn't look it.
He always looks like that.
Yeah.
I had a text message conversation with Nigel Farage today in which I said what I said last night to him. It seems to me that the #1 political issue in Britain today is Nigel Farage. And let me explain what I mean by that. All of these institutions that we feel have betrayed the public, all of them now are hunkering down and preparing for a Nigel Farage government. And when I say preparing for a Nigel Farage government, what they are attempting to do is ensure that even if he becomes Prime Minister, he is unable to govern this country. He is unable to stop these executive agencies doing what they are doing. If you look at the Human Rights Commission, failing to enact what the Supreme Court said about women being women. If you look at HOLAC, still no members of Reform approved to the House of Lords. There is a possibility that when if Reform wins the election, government ministers in the House of Lords will become ministers in the Lords before they're even given their seats in the House of Lords. What a complete and total shambles that is. All of these institutions now are preparing to stop Nigel Farage. Now, George, there are people watching and listening who may hate Nigel Farage, who don't plan to vote for him. But I will tell you this. These people in these institutions, in these public bodies and in these quangos are literally saying to us, we are worried about democracy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take every step possible to ensure the way that you vote at the next election has absolutely no difference. Makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. George, your response.
If we can't change it, we'll cancel the election. George.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a week or a month, really, but it seems like Nigel Farage is almost held to a different standard to everybody else, and a kind of different proof standard as well. I mean, this story for me is really a non-story. I mean, you know, people say things in schools. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I'm a lot younger than Nigel Farage. I'm 36, but I could not remember for the life of me what I said 25 years ago. I just couldn't. I couldn't tell you.
If you went to school with George, ring us up and tell us what he did at school.
Yeah, please do. Please do call up and find out, because I certainly can't remember. You know, and I think that, you know, and people change and people develop and people grow as human beings over our time. We grow from our life experiences. We improve.
But George, hang on a second, right? Does anybody believe what the BBC are fundamentally saying? So, I remember when I was a teenager, you feel that you have a lack of control. And what it is this. You believe that you are far more intelligent and savvy than your parents and your teachers give you credit for. Now, when you get to my age, you realise that you were wrong. But OK, but you feel held back. You feel not listened to. You feel like you could take on the world, but nobody will let you. And so when you get into an argument, a function of that frustration is that you will say literally the worst thing that you can think of. So if you're going to argue with a black kid, you're going to be racist to him. If you argue with a Jewish kid, you're going to be anti-Semitic. If you argue with a fat kid, you're going to whatever, right? I think it is nobody who is a parent, a teacher, or has any knowledge of humanity believes that a teenager ought to be held to account long-term for that. Now, held to account for being abusive to someone in the short term is one thing, but it's not a genuine political.
I think you have less empathy. You haven't developed empathy sort of feelings when you're a young kid. You know what I mean? That becomes when you're old and you've experienced a bit.
Yeah, as I say, you're growing. This is not something he said last week or last month or 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This is something that was said when he was a child.
Half a century ago.
Yeah, half a century ago. And I think the main point of this, and I think it's a really good point, is that when he was leading the UKIP in Parliament, and when obviously that big Brexit Party success, these stories didn't come out then. I mean, he literally got Brexit across the line. The stories didn't come out then. But all of a sudden now, 50 years on, they've appeared. And we know for a fact that some of the people that have come out with these stories are literally connected
They
to
tried it. This story came out about 3 or 4 years ago, I remember, and it didn't make it at all. So they tried it again, launched it again a few weeks ago.
The problem is,
he's going to become the Prime Minister, right? He's the next in line to become the Prime Minister, potentially. So all of a sudden, let's try and bring him down.
The issue is, George, so we'll talk about the BBC in a second, but and I'm putting this to you, but I know your view. Right. Does the BBC believe that something shouted in a playground by a 13-year-old is evidence of a long-term political view? When you're talking, I mean, right, okay, so
it's like Lord of the Flies, the film, you know what I mean? When all these kids are on an island and they're horrific. You're not going to behave like that as an adult.
My contention is simply this, and I'm just going to be generous here. Nigel Farage may or may not be racist, okay, right? I don't think he is, but the evidence presented simply does not prove anything at all. So my assumption is, given there's no evidence he's racist, I'm going to assume he's telling the truth. The BBC say that this is proof he's a closet racist. It isn't. It's proof that teenagers are a-holes sometimes.
Yeah, and now they have the Holocaust survivors group coming out saying that he should apologise. I mean, it's almost like a witch hunt, and BBC don't believe anything, let's be honest with you. They're probably more scared that they'll lose their statue to be a licensed commission if Nigel takes over, because I can't imagine anybody supporting the BBC for much longer, you know. And I think Nigel made some really good points in his speech the other day. You know, they are hypocrites themselves. They had some awful programmes on TV. I was watching one of the programmes he mentioned because I'd never heard of it before, so I looked online and I couldn't believe the things that were said in that programme. I literally sat in with my mouth open. It was the second one he mentioned, the one where they were saying...
Sickness and in health.
They were saying certain bad words.
Alf Garnett.
Well, can you imagine? Right. Yeah. Let's everyone together think about the Nigel Farage apology. Think about how ludicrous this would be. Right. He stands up and he goes, I wish to now make an apology for supporting the Holocaust when I was a teenager. Right. Clearly he didn't support the Holocaust, right? What is it he's meant to say? I'm sorry that I was a bit of a knob when I was a teenager. Well, to be fair, Nigel, you're a bit of a knob now, right? I mean, there's nothing here. But I'll tell you, George, where it does get serious, and we'll talk about question time in a second, where it does get serious is this. The BBC has crossed a line, and we talked about this last night. The BBC has crossed a line. They're now combatants in a political battle. Right. No journalist of any sense whatsoever believes that this is a genuine story that proves anything. What it is the BBC now saying we are fighting Nigel Farage because we fear he's going to reform the BBC. Now,
and he will.
It is an incumbent duty of any public servant to say that I will do the best that I can do based on the parameters laid down. But if those parameters change, that is the democratic will of the people. It is not my right to go and fight against Nigel Farage because I disagree with his policy on the BBC. But that's what they've done. So now, George, your position as a reform activist and politician is to say that there is now a state-funded campaign to ruin your boss.
Yeah, and it appears that way, right? It does appear that way, and I'm sure you're going to go on to question time in a minute, but it appears that way. And the way they framed that question in the morning on Richard Tice was just disgusting. It's the way they frame things, the way they position their conversations to...
It was a loaded question, wasn't it, actually?
No, the question was really what is Nigel Farage's relationship with Hitler? He doesn't have one.
Disgusting.
He doesn't have one. I mean, what's your relationship with Mao Zedong? Never met him. I mean, it's just garbage, isn't it?
I mean, it's absolute garbage.
It's a way of making an accusation, but weaseling out of it by putting it in the question.
What is Nigel Farage?
John Sopel said that's how he said on that stupid podcast he does with Mateless. Oh, this is how he actually said. This is how we do it to BBC. We don't say we believe that. We say what do you say to people who say that, and that's the way of them.
I mean, the obvious answer, Asher, is this, right? What was your relationship with the Nazi German dictator in Germany when you were 2.5 years old when he died, or whatever it is, right? Or he died before you were born. The answer is there's no relationship at all, nor would any sensible person believe it.
Well, I mean, he wasn't just anti-Jewish, was he? He was very anti-British. So anyone who's British is almost, you know, people in the Blitz. Some people suffered nearly as bad as the people in the Holocaust. If your whole family was blown up in their house, and there were thousands of people killed, so he was the enemy of Britain.
The other thing, George, let me just say this to you, because you come from a very, very patriotic town that has a proud record of serving this country. Is there not... So I know the people in the northwest of England and whatever, in working class towns that kind of I hang out in, they are deeply offended by this allegation of racism against them. And they are additionally offended by the idea that because they are proud of their family's service in the Second World War, that constitutes support for Hitler. Because it is the direct opposite.
Yeah, as you say, we're a proud military town with a hell of a lot of veterans in our city, and a lot of those veterans do stand at protests and they do support reform proactively, and we've got a couple of veterans that are reform councillors here in Portsmouth. And those I mean, we've got one in particular, a guy called Councillor Joe Standen, who's an ex-Royal Marine Commando, and he is labelled as a Nazi by the people in this town on the far left. It's disgraceful and disgusting. And of course, it's also, let's not forget this, it's triggering. A lot of these servicemen suffer with PTSD and suffer with real trauma, and then they have these people that have never fought for the country or never protected the country in any capacity, labelling them as racist and Nazis and fascists, the thing that they fought against. It's honestly, it's such a terrible situation, and it's so uneducated.
I watched, and I would encourage you not to watch it because you'll get so angry you'll smash up your telly. But I watched Owen Jones interview somebody the other day, I forget who it was, who basically advanced the argument that the reason for Islamist terrorism is that the SAS are colonialist murderers, and had the SAS not fought for Britain, they would not have encouraged Islamist terrorists to do what they did in the Islamic State. And I watched that and I just thought, number one, and I'm going to swear, apologies for this, that is the biggest pile of shite I've ever heard in my life. But number two, I mean, you know, what an insult to people that have fought for this country.
Yeah, I mean, look, anything Owen Jones says is almost comedy gold, right? I don't know where he gets his belief system from, but it's, these are the kind of people, though, that peddle the division that they speak that they're against. A lot of these people say we're against division, we're against reform because they create division. These people create the division by saying things like this.
Have they never considered, George, the very real possibility that you're telling the truth? So, okay, let's talk about George Madgwick for a second. It could be that he is a secret Nazi who loves Hitler and is attempting to lie to all of his voters. Okay. Or it could be what George Madgwick says. I was extremely concerned about the standard of public services in my area, didn't know anything about politics. When I tried to contact my councillors, they were crap, so I ran myself. As I learnt something about politics, Reform was the party for me. Now, which of those two sounds the most likely to most sensible people?
It's almost like you've read my biography. But yeah, I mean, look,
I didn't. You told me last week.
I told you last week, yeah. But that's good memory. But yeah, I mean, that is the process. And I think these people just look for a villain. They look for a villain. At the moment, I'm public enemy #1 in this area for anybody on the left. But they absolutely do look for
If you disagree with them, you're a Nazi, basically.
What I don't understand is this, and we saw it in the Brexit referendum. And by the way, I just want to remind everybody, the Brexit referendum did not cause hatred. It was the way that there was an attempt to ignore which way the vote went that caused the hatred. But the people like Alistair Campbell were not willing to accept the following, that most people felt that uncontrolled immigration, globalism and rampant casino capitalism had made them poorer. People thought that, and they blamed the EU for that. Instead, he became convinced of the following. Nigel Farage was a Russian agent. Aaron Banks was being paid by Vladimir Putin. People were being lied to by data trend analytics. It just became completely mad. They're not willing to consider the possibility that George Madgwick gets elected because people actually agree with him. And the solution, if you don't like George Madgwick, is to argue against him.
Yeah, and to stand against me and beat me. That's the other crucial part.
Because you might be wrong, and I'm sure you've been wrong before.
The thing is, they do that because they know really that you are speaking sense. They can't beat you at that game, so they have to slur you. That's the only way they can get their way.
Yeah, I mean, go and have a look at my X account and my Facebook account. That's what it is, slurs. It's literally slurs on my line because they can't debate the facts.
Exactly.
They can't talk about them. Sometimes I like to.
So they've lost the argument as soon as they do that.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, naturally.
So they haven't had an argument.
I mean, I thought we made this point, George, to Pete Barnes yesterday. So I'm increasingly respectful of Pete Barnes' position, because Pete Barnes is one of the only people who has said of Nigel Farage, I just don't think he'd be a good Prime Minister. Right, and if you look at the totality of criticisms of Reform, the secret Nazis, the Russian agents, they're trying to, very few people have stood up and gone, I just don't think they'd be very good. And actually, in this country, at the next election, it is important that somebody stands up and says, hey, Nigel, I think you're wrong. But it sounds like that's not going to happen. We're going to have this facile debate about, what Nigel Farage said when he was a kid. Anyway, I'll tell you what we should do. Why don't we go to the break? Because I really want to talk about this question time thing. I want to tell you one thing. I would rather gouge my eyes out than watch Question Time. I don't understand why anybody watches it. But last night it hit an unbelievable low. Back in a moment?
Yeah.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and I've got to be honest with you, and this is where I'm going to be remiss, and I apologise. I don't... Look, I think it's fair to say Asher's probably in the same boat. I honestly did not watch Question Time last night. I know everybody's talking about it. I've seen this picture.
It's painful to watch it, isn't it?
So let me tell you what I know from social media. An illegal migrant read out a question. Now, there are some people who say he had an earpiece in as well. Now, people have said, oh, it's unfair, there's a scripted question, it's wrong to have an illegal migrant, it's whatever. My view is this. I think if you watch Question Time, you're just setting yourself up to be upset. And I think the bigger issue is what we've already talked about, which is the BBC deliberately campaigning. Am I offended by them putting an illegal migrant in the audience? I've just given up being offended by them, George.
I think, I've watched Question Time 3 times this year, I think it has been. And that's only because I liked the panel that was coming up. I thought it'd be an interesting debate.
No, sorry, stop. Right. No, stop for a second, George. I liked some of the people on the panel. I thought it'd be an interesting debate. No, I'm sorry. What on earth made you believe that Question Time would be an interesting debate? The Tories are dreadful.
I just thought Zia versus Zach would be fun to watch. So I did watch last night's.
Well, let's have a look at the clip from the other night. Here we go. Let's have a look at this. Let's see what happened.
Well, actually, we have some men in the audience who came over on small boats and are former asylum seekers. So since you mentioned that, let's hear from one of them. So, Ashraf, where are you sitting? Ashraf, there you are. Can you just... So you came over from Afghanistan on a small boat in the last 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yes, I come from Afghanistan.
So was the UK where you wanted to claim asylum, and did you try and claim asylum in other countries on the way?
I applied for asylum. I was a refugee, and I passed many interviews in different countries.
So tell us which country did you try to claim asylum in?
My first interview was in Turkey, and the second one in Macedonia, in Serbia, in Romania, Austria, and recently in Germany, but that ain't in here.
So you applied for asylum in all those countries, and they all turned you down?
These countries just reject me, and they didn't accept me.
So what do you say to the woman here who says, why is it the men that are coming, and what about their families? Why did you come on your own, and what about the fact that so many men are coming?
Everybody knows my country is not safe for us. We have a war.
Right.
15 years we are
right,
living
guys,
in a war.
I've got to say this to you. I didn't know what he'd said. Right. The man said, did you arrive in a small boat from Afghanistan? Yes. Well, he didn't, because you can't sail from Afghanistan to Britain. Right. He arrived in a small boat from France. Right. Oh, it's awful. What happened to you? He must have listed about 10 countries. He's got
Turkey, Macedonia, Serbia, Romania, Austria and Germany. Well, if they're turning him down, we're old, reliable, don't worry. There's a backup. Britain will always take that.
How many people get refused by Turkey?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, can I tell you something? She, in her delusion, thinks what has happened here is all these other countries have been unfair. Whereas what actually has happened is the man has a case that's so meritless that even though he has gone through the formal process in 10 countries, they've all told him to get lost, and then he's jumped on a small boat and Britain's gone, yeah, why not?
So they obviously say his life isn't in danger.
Well, clearly they say his life is in danger. But as I say, he's done a European tour, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I don't know how long he's been in each of these countries. And,
no, George, to be fair, what he said is, I've applied in each of these countries and they've rejected me. Right. Now, the reality is, right, I don't know the process of asylum in each of these countries, but one would assume that there are different criteria and different systems, right? And I would suggest to you, George, and I don't want to sound presumptuous here, that if 10 countries, or whatever it is, all think your case is dreadful and Britain disagrees, it's probably the case that your case is dreadful, not that Britain has identified something worthwhile that everybody else missed when you applied in each of them.
But you know how these things were at BBC. Their researchers would have found this man and interviewed him and heard his story and thought that that man is good enough to go on TV and speak about his story as though it's a positive thing. As you say, I think Fiona was probably sitting there thinking what a wonderful thing that's happened and how welcoming we are. The reality is that there's a reason why this man has been rejected by several countries, and you know, she asked him a question about the women and children, and he had no response. He had absolutely no response.
There's no doubt, George, what you said is completely right there. I mean, we're listening to the same conversation, right? Her understanding of what that means and my understanding of what that means are two completely different things. What she believes it means is this guy's a genuine refugee who needs asylum from Afghanistan, and yet when he applied in all of these countries, none of them were willing to allow him in, so it falls to Britain to take him in. Whereas actually what we're hearing is this case is so dreadful that not even Turkey's willing to take him. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Montenegro, but it's not that difficult to get in. Serbia, I mean, you can walk across the border from Kosovo and get into the place. These are not countries where there is a huge amount of vetting for foreign migrants.
He also, Mr. Yusuf, also sparred with an Iranian migrant who criticised the suggestion of leaving the ECHR. I just want to clear up that leaving the convention doesn't just affect migrants. The Iranian said it would give ordinary people one less court to protect their rights. We don't need foreign courts. We've always had the British courts for thousands of years that were sufficient and actually made better decisions than some what they call so-called judge in a cafe in France saying, oh yeah, we agree to this guy because he's got a cat. He can stay in Britain.
But,
you know what I mean? We don't need those.
If you think about it, in defence of the French, right, they're sat there going, we think we've got a robust asylum policy, right? Every time we reject somebody, they just say to the mates, don't worry, go to Britain. What are we meant to do? Right?
Yeah, he didn't actually put France as being rejecting him. Why didn't he try France?
I mean, there's quite a long list, right? He might have just missed out a few.
Yeah.
But on the second person, which we didn't see the clip of there, you know, the one that looked like he had an earpiece in, he was reading a script off of a phone in front of him where he started reading out about the Northern Ireland situation. You know, he was reading a script, and I think even that went down poorly in the more left-leaning journalism. I saw Navarro Media, which is stereotypically a very left-wing media organisation, even they were criticising that incident. I think it's not landed very well at all, and I think BBC have landed themselves in a little bit of a mess here with this one.
Well, just to explain to people, and obviously George and Asher know this, and many of you will as well, but I just want to be clear on this. So you've got to remember that before you appear on a TV show, I mean, we don't do it with George because, you know, this is kind of a general discussion, but normally what would happen, if somebody goes, where is Bob in the audience? You will have, first of all, a sheet of paper. The researchers have spoken to him at length on the phone. So when she goes, what happened? She already knows what the answer is. Now, that is not a trick, obviously. She knows what the newsworthiness is of it. But what has happened in this case is that they know full well that this person has been rejected here, there and everywhere. They have willfully chosen to bring him on as a case study. Now, I'm permanently banned from Question Time, BBC Question Time. The reason is you're only allowed to appear twice in your life, and I've been on 11 times. And when they caught me with fake names and stuff, they really got quite angry. So I know a lot about Question Time, and I will tell you what does not normally happen. They do not proactively go out and find somebody who is a plumber, a baker, a candlestick maker. What they do is they try and balance people based on gender and politics and all that sort of thing. The idea that BBC Question Time would specifically find an illegal migrant to bring him on the show, they've never done that before.
And what's it got to do with an illegal migrant? We're talking about what we're going to do with illegal migrants, whether they should. Why should they have a say? They've got a conflict of interest. They're not part of the British people. If you're an illegal migrant, what are you doing? Of course, you're going to say, you know.
Well, they can't vote, can they? That's the thing. They can't.
And they shouldn't vote. I don't think even if you're a foreign national, you shouldn't vote. You know, we have a lot of people from countries where in their country you wouldn't be allowed to be in Parliament or be anywhere near politics if you're not from there.
Well, I mean, could you imagine us going over to, say, I don't know, Iran, his country, and criticising the Iranian regime live on TV about their policy? I mean, it would be absolutely.
Well, Pakistan, you know, you couldn't go to Pakistan and go in their politics. You have to be Pakistani national. I think that's actually the right way.
But there is another bit of this, and it's the Stephen Barrett argument, which obviously, look, none of us are lawyers here, and if you want to go on YouTube, you can watch Stephen. But what Stephen effectively says is this. I don't buy it. I believe that in reality, the law is not being properly discharged. And that is to say this. These immigration judges or whatever actually are not enforcing the law. What they're doing is finding any excuse to allow people in. And he says that is misconduct in public office. But it's amazing, isn't it, that, and we've heard it on this show before, George, where people have said, oh, look, these people must be legitimate, 87% of them get approved. It seems to me, and I've not sat through all these cases, when you're talking about chicken nuggets and my cat would be sad and all this sort of thing, and the guy who molested his children and said, if you throw me out of the country, I won't be able to see my children. Yeah, well, that's a key benefit, right? And the court, it seems to me that the benchmark of the court is this. If you have any argument whatsoever, you will be allowed to stay. The only people that will be removed are people whose case is so meritless that there is literally no claim of anything at all. No claim to family life, no claim for needing it.
Chicken nuggets.
So basically, the court does not assess whether you need to be in the UK. The court says, give me any excuse to keep you here and I'll rule in your favour. Now that is not what the court is empowered to do.
It's because some of the article of directions under the ECHR rules are really weak, and the threshold, the bar, is so low of evidential proof.
Well, it's how they interpret it as well. I mean, it never said anything about chicken nuggets, but of course these activist judges will, that's how they'll interpret it. Anyway, George, we've got to take a little breaky. 03444991000. Give us a ring, speak to us, and Georgia will be going through the paper and taking all your calls. It's Talk with Andre and Ash with George Madrick. We're in Portsmouth Reform Council. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk. This is Andre Walker, Asher Gould. Now, guest co-host is George Madrick, who is the reform leader at Portsmouth City Council. Now, George, look, I said at the beginning of this show, the number one political issue is Nigel Farage, and I see a correlation, a line between all of these things that are going on. But you are one of the most senior local government people in the Reform Party. Do me a favour, because a lot of us have not kept fully up to date on this. Explain what's going on with elections, with local authorities changing, with the merging, with people being angry that Kent had an election but Essex didn't, and all that sort of thing. And I know it's going to take you a minute or two, but just explain what is fundamentally going on.
Sure, I can give you a rundown. So for the last 2 years, I've sat on the LGR and devolution board for our council. So it means I know a little bit more about
Oh, you
this,
wild child.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it. It's a fun day of activities. However, you know, local government reorganisation, which is breaking up current councils, county councils, unitary borough towns, and converting them into large authorities, large new authorities.
So am I right in saying, and I might be wrong, am I right in saying that what they want to do is go for unitaries? That is to say that some places will have, you know, your own borough, one borough like somewhere like Windsor and Maidenhead. Other places will have Runnymede District Council and Surrey County Council. And what they're saying is everyone's just going to have one council that they vote for. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So absolutely.
And so they've suspended the elections for this reason.
Well, it gets rid of the
really
gets rid of the multi-tiered. I think the thing we've got to remember is that local government reorganisation, which is what we're talking about this second, was not in their manifesto. We knew that they were going to bring mayors into the manifesto. We knew that, but we didn't know about local government reorganisation. Now, they planned a mayor election for next year in 2026, and these were obviously in Hampshire, Sussex, Norfolk, and
Sorry, people get angry when I interrupt, but once again, am I right in saying, I think I am, that in some areas you will get a council, but in others you'll get a mayoralty? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
But over time, the idea is to make all areas have an elected mayor through a combined authority. Okay. So it's going through a process and going through stages. There's certain areas and regions that were allowed to go onto something called the priority programme, which meant councils...
If you explain what that is, I will harm you. Okay.
But why have they cancelled it? Because, you know, it's 2 years. Why have they cancelled it? It's not the real reason why they've cancelled these elections. They've done it because reform are going to look good in all these elections.
Sorry,
9 million people disenfranchised.
Let me just do one thing, just so I understand it, and apologies if I'm being very basic here. My understanding is this: legally, all the councils you're used to still exist, right? The question is, should there be an election to these councils, given that the councils are going to be abolished anyway? The issue that I think Russell, what's his name? Russell Quirk said is, okay, so what people are saying is, well, why elect a council that's only going to exist for a year? And Russell Quirk's argument is because they're the people who are going to negotiate what the new council's going to be. And so the position, as an example, in Essex is, if there was an election in May, the Conservatives would be eviscerated in favour of reform. As it is, I think there are no reform councillors on Essex County Council. Therefore, the party that the most people in Essex want to negotiate the deal has no voice at all. Is that a fair summary, George?
That is an absolute accurate summary, 100% accurate. They delayed, you've got to remember, they cancelled elections last year and used the local government reorganisation and the mayor as an excuse to cancel them. And now this year they've cancelled the mayor elections, which is what they use as the excuse for cancelling the ones last year. Now listen, I make no mistakes. Let's just look at the Labour government for a second. Since they've come into power, they've introduced a digital ID, they're introducing face recognition, they've lied to us about the budget, they've cut the winter fuel. Now, this week, we've had David Lammy's scrap juries for trials under 3 years, and now we've had a second election in a year cancelled.
Well, I'm going to be very clear with you, George. I often say I don't believe in conspiracy theories. Nobody with any sanity would believe that that is coincidental. Nobody.
No, absolutely not. And I'm sorry, but I hate to say it, but they have all the hallmarkings for an authoritarian, and some may argue fascist dictatorship.
This is what the communists did. This is what the fascists did. Like you say, in all these countries in history, this is exactly what they did, suspend democracy.
But if you listen to the basic premise of what has been said in Essex, and I know this because of what Russell Quirk said. So basically, look, the Conservatives in Essex have made a reasonable argument, which is this. We are extremely concerned that the people that come in to negotiate the abolition of Essex County Council will not have the experience and knowledge that we have. That's fine, okay? But that is a point you make to the electorate, right? You don't abolish the election as a result. So you knock on people's doors and you say, look, we're negotiating the abolition of Essex County Council. I personally think that you should stick with the Conservatives at this election rather than bring in a team of new people. And then you let the electors decide. What Quirk alleges, which, by the way, I think is quite difficult to argue against, is that these people are saying, we know we're going to lose, right? We do not want reform to negotiate. We know reform are going to win. We know the public want them to win. We know that the public want them to negotiate. We know that the public are going to rebuke our arguments that we should stay in because of our experience. And because of that, let's abolish the election because fundamentally we think that we have a right to negotiate on behalf of the public and to say to the public, we're abolishing your election because we fear that you might disagree with that opinion.
Well,
That is dreadful.
I also want to flesh out this, and it's a really good point added on to what Russell said. You've got to remember that institutions, councils, and now these combined authorities have officers. Officers are very important. It's a little like the president's choosing the Supreme Court. You know, officers, especially the key officers, are really important to the direction of your local governance, right? And instead of having reform-led officers where they get to choose and pick the officers, this is the point that Russell's making. Because of the cancellation of these elections, you now have, in theory, undemocratic councillors, because they've not been elected for this length of time, making decisions on who the key officers are going to be.
Exactly.
The chief executives, the financial directors, the legal officers. They're going to decide that. So when Reform do eventually get an election and win, they're going to be dealt a hand of officers that they have not had any form of say in.
Correct. And by the way, the proof that you're right is this. If there were no decisions to be made, then their argument would not be made. You can't turn around and say, you need us as experienced people to negotiate it if there was no negotiation to be made. And for those of you watching and listening who are confused about that, what you have to understand is there is a basic, well, actually quite a rigorous set of laws and rules about a local council, but they all have their own constitution, they all have their own standing orders, they all have, you know, which department is this, how things are organised that. You know, okay, you're required to have a chief executive, monitoring officer, a legal officer, a financial officer and a children's officer, but beyond that you can do all sorts of things, right? I don't know if you know this, George will know, many people won't. Delegated powers, you know, the council has the right in Portsmouth to take back delegated powers for parking fines, and it can vote on every parking fine at the council level if it wants to. It chooses not to. All of those things are being decided upon by people who are... Now, let me tell you about the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, where I live. When it was merged, when Windsor, Ascot and Maidenhead were merged together in just after the 1972 or 4 Local Government Acts, I think it's 74, they had an election for the authority that didn't exist. So what they said was, right, we now know that the government is saying that we're going to have to merge these authorities together. We're going to have an election and we're going to elect the people who are going to build this authority, right? And on the day that the powers are given to the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, these people who've been working for 2 years will become the councillors. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what they're doing as well is they're rushing through these delegated powers. And I think a good example of the delegated powers is this flag debate. Do you remember at the council that Reform took over?
Yep.
And they wanted to only have British Union Jack flags, etc. and raised. And the chief executive said, no, I've been given a delegated power where it's our decision. And the council then reversed that delegated power from the chief executive. And I think you're very right about raising this, because delegated powers are easy to give away to officers. They're really easy to give away. You can do it with one vote in 2 minutes. They're very hard to get back. And that's what we're seeing, is a lot of councils rushing through delegated powers because they're concerned that Reform will come knocking at it.
I'll give you an example of this. I remember when I was a local government officer, we needed a new policy on appointments of school governors. And the policy that came from the department said that head teachers should pick school governors. And we said, no, the local authority will pick school governors. And they brought it back 5 times. And in the end, we removed the delegated power to the head of children's services and gave me it as the political assistant to the Conservative group. Now, they kicked off, but those things can happen. George, I worry about this because somebody told me the other day, and I know you have to go now, somebody told me the other day that local elections have only been cancelled on, I think, 3 occasions. It's about to be 4. Second World War, COVID, last year over the local government reorganisation, and this year. In our history, 4 times, we managed to...
They use the law, don't they? I mean, Putin, I nearly called him, Starmer. I mean, they don't care really about, you know, what it looks like. If it's legal, they'll do it. So they'll put out a manifesto that they're clearly not going to go for. And if it's legal, yeah, we'll cancel the elections. We don't care what you think, even if you think you know what we're doing.
George,
we don't care.
Before you go, look... we like you because you are an ordinary bloke who's got into all this. How worried are you? Because where Asher and I sit, we're extremely concerned about the fact that we buy exactly what you're saying. Time and time again, public bodies, organisations, parliaments are ensuring that reform can't do what they're going to do and ensuring that democracy doesn't work. How worried are you about this?
Very worried, and the people that make the decisions are proactively trying to keep reform out. I was in a meeting just 6 months ago where somebody said, we want our elections in thirds, not all outs, because it will stop reform getting control of the council. You know, they are proactively trying to make their constitutional rules and their rules up to keep reform out. Could you imagine how embarrassing it would be for a Labour government to lose all 4 of their new mayor seats? It would be a disaster for them. Labour are the first ones to criticise Ukraine for not holding elections during an actual war, but yet they're running from the battlefield at the first sign of terror. I'll tell you what I'd be more embarrassed about.
I'd be more embarrassed to stand in Surrey or Essex or wherever it is and say that I failed to discharge the most basic duty to the public, which is to ensure democratic oversight of this council, because I was frightened of losing my seat. I would rather get 2 votes than be that guy.
Exactly, and it's shameful. And as I say, just to wrap up this little segment, last year they cancelled elections because of the mayor elections. This year they're cancelling the mayor elections because of local government reorganisation. Well, what's going to happen the year after? Because the mayors were meant to be in place to spend a year organising the combined authority. So now they're going to say, well, because the mayor elections aren't until 2028, there's no point having local elections.
I'm going to go further than that, George. I'll tell you what I see. I see a load of old balls and the following proposition. When the government and councils decide that they don't want local democracy anymore, it just disappears, right? That's what worries me. What stops them saying, hey, look, we're really worried that reform are populist, let's cancel the election? Well, what is the difference?
Well, look at the AfD in Germany. You know, what are they going to do at the general election, especially if Lammy's got rid of the jury system? They could have Farage up on some spurious charge and put him in the clink for a couple of years, and that's the end of that, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for joining us, George. That's George Madrick, leader of Reform UK in Portsmouth. We're going to have a bit of music next for a light relief, so stay with us. 03444991000 if you want to give us a bell. You can leave a WhatsApp message on there. And Voicio. It's Andre and Ash. It's Talk.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it's that time of year, isn't it, when we are looking about what we're going to have as Christmas number one. Thankfully, the depressing X Factor old rubbish is unlikely to get anywhere. We have got a candidate for Christmas number one about to come on, but the first thing we should do, be fair, is play the song.
Hey, hey! Special delivery for Sir here. Hey, Santa suit, shiny boots, jingle on the floor. Knock, knock, number 10, Kier opened the door. Made my list, checked it twice, guess who's there again? Nigel Claus is coming down the flue at number 10. Hey, hey, Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey, I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, 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 let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump at number 10. Candy canes, tinsel chains, chimney nice and wide. Kier's got spin for Christmas, Santa's got a slide. Presents for the people, Kier can keep the pen. I'm leaving him a parcel right at number 10. Hey, hey, Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey, I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, 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 let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump at number 10.
Yeah.
Asher, did you know?
I didn't know Farage used to crap snow.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. OK, so Crewkern Man, you know, this amazing group. Crewkern Man is a bloke, but it's two of them.
It's Crewkern Men.
OK, so...
Well, we've spread. We're multiples.
You have come up with so many amazing viral videos. Yeah. I just want to... I'll be serious for a second. Why was it important to mock Keir Starmer and talk about Farage this year?
Well, I think it resonates with the majority of the country at the minute. Most people feel that, certainly when we look at comedy, no comedy is addressing Keir Starmer. There's a feeling in the country of the want for change. And what better way to bring about some change through Nigel Farage's bottom and that being snowballs directed towards Keir Starmer at number 10. It's revolutionary. It's going to be probably quite groundbreaking in the sense that it'll be the first AI Christmas song ever released onto the charts.
Are you worried that the BBC will ban it or Starmer because he doesn't like?
No, he's hoping.
You know, he doesn't like stuff like communist leaders. They don't like stuff that makes fun of them. He actually, they got that one where he fell over, taken off. So are you worried about that? And obviously the BBC will probably try and ban it. Do you remember if it gets to number one, they won't play it, stuff like that? Are you thinking about that?
I think it's a badge of honour, really, if they ban it.
It is. It does you no harm. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, straight to number one.
In this day and age as well, the BBC are irrelevant, really. Yeah. What they play and what they say are resonated to the old world. We're looking at the new world, and the new world is very much
can I ask
X and AI.
Can I ask once again quite a straight-laced question? In the past, subversive music, comedy, and whatever was related to the left. Why do you think now people who want to be subversive in the music industry are heading towards the right?
I think it's a bit like the 1960s. We're at the start of a new kind of counterculture. We have a younger generation that feels not represented by government, that feels left out, and they identify with many of the songs that we're releasing. So it's a kind of new 1960s, but even better. And the response we've had from many of our songs has been phenomenal. I mean, we reach all areas of this country and even internationally at times as well. The Crewkern Gazette, it really is going from strength to strength. And we're also incredibly impressed by how well people are taking to AI, because there's a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, AI slop. But actually,
it's getting better, isn't it?
It's getting better. It's getting better, and it's making profound change.
But it's like you say, people now, kids, they think they're rebelling being left, but you're not anymore. And actually, the young kids are now rebelling and being very pro-Farage. We all love cheese. But when's it out?
That'll be a new video from Arge Frey.
Yeah. When's it coming out, guys?
It's coming out December the 12th.
And where can we buy it and download it? Is it all on Spotify?
iTunes and Amazon, yeah. It'll be across the internet.
We'll be playing our James Well Christmas song after.
Before you go, guys, we'll play the song at the end of the show again and remind people. I just want to say to you, there is something so important in democracy, which is mocking and humiliating political leaders to remind people that they're just human. So congratulations on that. We've not had a lot of time with this, but we'll play the song at the end of the show again and remind people, iTunes, they can get it. Basically, it's going to be relatively easy to get it. OK?
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
So great tradition of mocking politicians.
We'll be back after the news. We've got a classic bit of the James Well, and we'll play a bit of our Christmas song. And, of course, the best Father Christmas impersonator, Mike Mendoza, will be joining us and going through the papers. So don't go away for that former classic on tour.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, I've wanted to tell you this story all week, and okay, if you think this story's rubbish or whatever, fine. I want to tell you the story of William Penn the Younger. William Penn the Younger, his dad was a naval captain, and his dad brought Charles II back when the monarchy was restored after the beheading of Charles I, and they got rid of, the Puritans and whatever. Basically, William Penn the Jr. was a bit of a pain, and Charles II said to his dad, the captain, he said, is there anything I can do for you, at the end of your life? And he said, do me a favour, look after my son. He's a good kid, but he does annoy a lot of people. So William Penn got thrown out of university for giving, Quaker pamphlets out, or whatever it was, right? And he continually kept getting thrown in prison for publishing heretic material, talking about his religious views and all this sort of thing. This culminated in the following. He was arrested by the City of London police in the city, and he was sent to the Old Bailey, and the presiding judge was the Lord Mayor of London. The Lord Mayor of London did not allow William Penn to make his case. So basically, he pleaded not guilty. The prosecution case was made, but there was no defence case at all. The Mayor of London ruled against it. After deliberating for 4 minutes, the jury found him not guilty, even though he'd offered no defence at all. So the Lord Mayor of London said to the jury, if you do not come back and find him guilty, I'm going to throw you in the same prison cell as him. And they came back and declared him not guilty again. And the Lord Mayor of London imprisoned William Penn Jr. along with the 12 jurors. And for days and weeks, the jurors said, we are not finding this man guilty. We will sit and rot in this prison for as long as it takes. At the end of it, Parliament ruled that no judge can direct a jury to find somebody guilty, nor can they punish a jury for their decisions. Let me tell you this. William Penn later went to the King and the King said to him, what can I do? There's all trouble. He said, I bought lots of land in America. I'm thinking of setting up a new state. I'm thinking of calling it Sylvania. And he said, I'll only let you do that if you name it after your dad and call it Pennsylvania. He founded Philadelphia and he founded the state of Pennsylvania. The reason I'm telling you this story is very simply this. William Penn was not liked by the Lord Mayor of London. He was not liked by the police and he was not liked by the authorities, but nor was he guilty of a crime. And that jury sat in prison for weeks in order to defend your right to be judged by your own peers and not by an officer of the government. I'm going to say this to you tonight. Do not make the mistake of allowing jury trial to disappear, because I guarantee you that before juries came about, or rather in countries where there were no juries, your rights would be regularly violated.
Well, I mean, we've seen the protesters that got, put in prison because they were far right. If they pled not guilty, you were mainly found innocent. I mean, it just goes to show how corrupt it is. If they were made to plead guilty by their defence lawyers who work for the government.
And let me tell you something else now.
74% of them got found not guilty if they went to a jury. Half that if they didn't.
I'm going to have to be very careful in the way that I say this, because I don't want to commit a criminal offence, and the criminal offence would be to disclose what was discussed in a jury room. But I will tell you that I was a juror in a case where the prosecution felt that they proved that the defendant was guilty, and the case was overwhelming, and yet this defendant was found not guilty. And what I will also say, a jury can find somebody not guilty when they believe what their actions were morally justified, even though they did break the law.
You can also, as a jury, only in that case, I won't say a precedent, but say this law is ridiculous and throw it out as a jury.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. If you look at the Belgrano situation, the guy who disclosed the Belgrano sinking was technically guilty of a crime. The judge directed the jury to find, well, didn't direct them, but encouraged them to find him guilty, and they found him not guilty because they said, we don't care what the law is. In reality, we have the right to know what's going on. Now, apologies for the lateness of this, but I just want to say what I say absolutely every single week at this time. We are always in the shadow of James Whale, that great innovator in media and in radio, who very kindly asked me to take his place when he was off ill, and then that turned into the job I do now. We always venerate him and remember him by having a memorial, and that memorial is to show one of his clips at 11 o'clock, and every single week it falls to his old partner, Asher Gould, to introduce it.
And tonight, it's not an interview clip, and usually it's it's our little Christmas video. It's a pop video. I mean, Whale had a few hits, Bimbo, what was the other one?
I mean, fair to say this wasn't one of them. But...
No, this was one. Wrap It Up for Christmas is quite a big hit, but what our producer did, we remade the video, bring up to the modern day, and, well, let's have a little spin of it.
Listen up, lend me your ears. It's the holly and the ivy time of year. It's nice and peaceful in the studio till a bunch of carol singers try to get on the show. I say, hey, merry gentlemen, cut the ding dong, and I'll teach you the words of a different song. On Boxing Day, have the relatives round, have a family fight, the ghosts ten round. I won't have a stocking or a Christmas box. I won't have a crib with an ass and an ox. I'm not gonna drink from your waddling cup. Knock it off, pack it in, and wrap it up. Wrap it up for Christmas, Johnny with the fun. Whalers on the radio.
So was he dressed as Ali G, or was it Steven Seagal? No one will ever know. But now it's the great time. He used to come on after me in the Great Whale on the overnight. His name was Mike Mendoza, 0344 499 1000, and he's now currently playing Father Christmas up that funny tower in Brighton after not being allowed to have a job somewhere else because he was too obese for the suit. I think that was racist against fat people, but he's back in business up that funny tower in Brighton. Why have you got your Father Christmas outfit on again?
Right,
oh, no, that's just what you look like anyway.
I thought it was very nice.
I'll tell you what, I love your fried chicken. What is that?
Don't know, he's opening a window. We saw his personal letters then.
Wasn't me, no.
How are you, Mike?
My hands are here. Yeah, good as gold, thank you.
Have you sorted your screen out?
No, that was us, not him.
How was it? Oh, right.
He doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Yeah. So, how you doing, Mike? You all right? Looking good?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it was good to see old James there, and also interesting that I've also got a record out at the moment about being too fat for Santa.
Have you? You got a record out?
Quite well.
Yeah, we've actually got it. Let's put that on the wheels of steel. But tell us the story first, and then we'll put it on. Tell us about your Christmas single with Mike Reid, not the comedian because he's not alive anymore. The Radio 1 DJ.
Oh, you know about it then? Yeah. So Mike Reid. I was out with Mike Reid one evening, and I mentioned about being fired from
name dropping out with Mike Reid, eh?
The Santa job, and he said, I tell you what, this could be a great song. So we next I know is first thing next morning he contacts me, he says, I've written the song, it's a poem, and I need you to, it's going to be a lovely jingle, and you're going to voice it in the middle. And we've done that, and it's gone into the Heritage charts. Yeah. It started off at number 79.
What's the Heritage charts? What's that?
Heritage is a radio.
So listen. Mike Reid saw something trending and thought, this is a business opportunity. Let's get on the blower.
He's not got a very good history of having good ideas.
I liked UKIP Calypso.
We've done this one.
By the way, just to let everyone know, because they might not know the story we had you on about a month ago about, he was going to be lined up for a good gig playing Santa Claus, and he's a fantastic Santa Claus, is Mike. But he went to put his suit on, and it was too small, and they said, no, you can't be Santa. They're outrageous. Santa is meant to be overweight. But anyway,
exactly.
That's it.
Sorry, let's not break the rules. He was offered a job as a Santa impersonator. The real Santa, of course, is too busy.
I
didn't make the rules, right?
Right,
I'm not sure about that.
Let's have a look at Mike and Mike Reid's video. Run VT.
You're so gigantic, you're so round. The reindeer will never leave the ground. It's not meant harshly, so please don't sulk. But we just can't handle your enormous bulk. You'll be fine as a sumo wrestler or ice hockey goalie. But for us, you're just too roly-poly.
Too fat for Santa. He got the whiskers, he got the banter. Too fat for Santa. Too fat for Santa Claus.
Too fat for Santa. Because, of course, it was a health and safety problem, wasn't it? And I didn't know you were a rapper as well, Mike.
Well, no.
How do we buy that, Mike? Where do we get it from? Woolworths?
No, you get it from... I'm always still going.
No, they went years ago.
No, you get it off... I've got no idea where you get it from.
Just put Mike Mendoza, Mike Reid in Google. Probably Amazon... Mike's used to the old vinyl, isn't he? That's
what you do is put in Too Fat for Santa and Mike Mendoza. Yeah. And you should find it.
Put it in what? I mean, Mike, listen, you're a good bloke and you're a good guest, but most people who come on to promote a business thing know how to sell it, right? I'll tell you what we're going to do. For Mike. Mike's a good bloke. He wants to come on anyway. Gallery, can you work out where you can buy Mike's song? And what we'll do is...
I'm sure it'll be on iTunes and Amazon and everything.
No.
Anyway...
It's a free one.
Let's have a look at the press preview. The Times. Let's start with the Times. Labour let women down. Former head of Equality Watchdog attacks government record on single-sex spaces and grooming. Labour has abandoned women over issues such as trans rights and grooming gangs and can no longer call itself the Party of Equality and Feminism, obviously. The former head of the Human Rights Watchdog has said. What do you think about this, Mike? You've always been very pro-women's rights.
I'm certainly pro my rights, which don't happen very often. Women's rights, I think they've got as many rights as anybody else, to be honest with you, in this modern day and age. Yeah. Although wokeness seems to come in far too many times. And yes, Labour not just let women down, I think they've let everybody down over the last few weeks. It seems to be getting worse and worse.
Mike, what shocks me is this. So, I come from a very staunchly Labour community. I've never been a Labour supporter, but my dad was director of the Co-op and so on and so forth. What amazes me is this. And I think the Conservatives and other political parties have abandoned their core vote to an extent. But Labour is notable in that they have no interest in the people they're supposed to serve. Ordinary working class people concerned about minimum wage, concerned about health and safety at work, concerned about things like education, state education for their children, concerned about quality of housing and things. They're only interested in these bizarre middle class minor issues like climate change, veganism, transsexualism, and stuff that literally, if you were to go to, I don't know, Salford, nobody is interested in.
I think you're quite right. You covered it quite well there. There's, as I said about this wokeness bit coming in as well, the issues that we've never ever noticed before have just suddenly come to the fore. And to me, I mean, listen, I'm getting old. To me, everything just seems double Dutch, to be honest with you. I can't understand what's going on with the world at the moment. And I certainly can't understand what's happening in this country at the moment.
You don't even know how to buy a record anymore. He lives in Brighton. By the way, I saw your friends Shannon David last week. We were talking about it. Yeah.
But you get all this "don't misgender me," and you go.
It's impossible with Mike.
And I just look at them and go, right, give me a clue. Right, because I think you look like a bloke in a frock, right? So don't misgender you. What's it? And what annoys me more than anything else is the really serious issues in this country, Mike. The really serious issues, as an example, after COVID, working class children are so far behind in education that it's expected they'll earn £100,000 less than their middle class friends. There's major concerns about productivity in this country. There's major concerns about foreign sovereign wealth funds buying up our industry and shutting them down. If you look at the steelworks, the Chinese probably attempted to shut down the British steelworks on the grounds that it would make it easier to fight Britain in a war. There's all of these big issues, and then somebody turns up in a dress and goes, oh, we need to debate me. Look, just wear your frock and just have a laugh, right? I have not got anything to say to some bloke walking around in a dress other than just get on with it.
Like we did in the 80s, you know, in the 80s people would wear dresses and so no one went, oh, I'm a woman. You just go, that's fine, and there was no problems.
Well, men didn't really walk around in dresses in the 80s, did they?
They did in certain areas. I remember the gay area in Birmingham. There was Nightingales. I went in the toilet. There was a bloke in a dress there, and you know, no one cared.
Now I've got to be honest with you.
No one had to call him a woman.
I can't advocate violence, but there is a brilliant video on YouTube of a transphobic hate incident which took place in Cardiff, where a group of people had a go at a man in a woman's dress. And you know, spat at him and did whatever. What they didn't know was it was the Welsh cage fighting team on a stag do, right? And the result of this transphobic attack is, let's be clear, pretty resolute. Let's just say.
Well, there was Katie Price's boyfriend, the cage fighter. I can't remember, Alex something, and Alex Reid, and obviously he was a cage fighter, but he used to cross-dress a bit. So it doesn't mean that you're, you can be a pretty tough guy in a dress. You got more freedom of movement as well.
I don't want to sound like an old giffer, Mike, but it strikes me that we live in a society now where it's just me. If I put a dress on and call myself Susan, I would suggest that you probably don't care. What actually happens now is you go, Mike, you must do this, you must. And you're thinking, listen, I'm just sat here having my beer, I'm not interested. And I just worry that we have exchanged real decency, real honesty and real commitment to just some facile old nonsense, which is you have to respect me because I wear a dress. It's not a respect you or don't respect you. I don't give a toss. Shut up.
What about when you receive letters, and this is what annoys me as well, you suddenly receive a letter from an official, and at the bottom it says, signed Nigel so-and-so, known as him, whatever, and all the titles next to it. It means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
What are your pronouns, Mike?
Been and has been.
By the way, you're affected with these cancelling of mayoralty elections in Sussex, aren't you? What's your view on the... cancelling of its democracy?
That's disgraceful, and I'm just waiting now for them to actually cancel the local elections
because you were a councillor, weren't you? You were in the council.
Yeah. I've been chairman of the council. I've been a councillor on both Brighton and Hove and in Ada, and Worthing, Shoreham and Worthing as well. So I've been all over the place over the years. But at the same time, democracy has been stolen from us, and this is what this is all about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they're terrified of reform taking too many seats, and I can see in years to come, after Osama has sort of cancelled all the elections over the next 30 or 40 years, and he'll also ban the Reform Party.
But it seems to me, Mike, if I look back in history, I mean, kind of before when you were on councils and whatever, but I look back in history, and basically people would make a certain amount of money. They'd be, if you like, business leaders or whatever in the town, and they would volunteer to give up their time to run the council. You know, they didn't, it wasn't, I mean, you know, it wasn't that they got expenses or pay. Yeah. You know, if they became the mayor, they had to drive their own car or whatever. You know, and it just strikes me that I watch these highly politicised numbskulls running councils now who actually really have no interest in the local area. They're just using it as a stepping stone to become whatever it is that they want to become. And I just fear that people don't take local government seriously. And I look back to the old days when all these elder statesmen of an area would sit there and have a genuine debate about how we'd fix this and fix that. And now, you know, motions about whether Gaza you know, should be an independent country at, you know, Glasgow City Council, where they've got no power to do anything about it. And at the same time, their schools are so terrible that the kids are virtually eating rats rather than lunch.
Well, there's 2 points here. When I first went on a council, which was Brighton Hove Council in the early 80s, it was £10 a meeting. So you got £10 expenses, that was all you got. Now I think you get something like £350 a week just for being elected.
Do you get pensions as well with that?
Some do, some don't.
Because now apparently council tax, so half to 2/3 of it is just being paid out for pensions on, you know, people who work for the council and stuff like that.
I'll tell you the most outrageous practice in local government, which makes me absolutely disgusted. So, it is a general rule, in fact it's a firm rule of this country, that you don't have to live in the seat you represent, but you have to live in the area that the government governs. So obviously you have to live in the United Kingdom to have a House of Commons seat. You have to live in, say, Brighton and Hove to be right. So you are able to either live there or you can have a principal place of work. Yep. You are not going to believe this, but the High Court ruled a few years ago that if I get elected now at Southwark Council and move to Japan, right, I work in Japan, whatever, because I am a councillor in Southwark already, I am allowed to re-stand in Southwark on the grounds that my principal place of business is where I'm a councillor. I mean, that is garbage, isn't it?
Well, it has been that way for quite a while now as well. And as long as you live 10 miles from the distance where you're going to stand, you can get away with that as well.
That's for a parish council, but
I don't know if you're aware, but I'm actually a parish councillor at the moment, and here we come. This is where it all happens. I said to the chairman of the council, "What planet are you on?" When she said something really stupid, and guess what? I got reported to the law side of the council, and I had to appear in front of a disciplinary committee, and I was told to apologise for a start. And I said, apologise for what? And they said, for saying what planet you on.
Well, I mean, it's not actually a fair.
So I said,
do you know my advice? We are going to have to go to a break, but my advice to anybody in local councils, when you get a disciplinary hearing with the monitoring officer, it's just best to not turn up. Because all they're going to do is just rule against you anyway and go.
Well, they can't do anything anyway. They got no.
They can take your pay for 3 days. Well,
he's Teflon Mike Mendoza, and he's with us on Talk 03444991000. We're going through the papers, but give us a ring on that number. It's Andre Nash with Mike Mendoza and the papers on Talk.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk.
Put the camera on.
Yeah, this is Talk. This is Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Mike Mendoza is our guest co-host. Look, I don't know what we should go to next, but I just wonder whether we should comment on this thing about
face masks.
Well, no, about hospitals, which says that hospitals force-fed, drugged, and abused children.
That's the Independent.
The Independent. You know, I just worry that healthcare's gone wrong.
Force-fed, drugged and abused children. Families take legal action against 35 doctors accused of presiding over inhumane, degrading and brutal regime with children allegedly restrained in prison-like units at Huntercombe Group hospitals, first exposed by this paper 3 years ago. Patients and families are claiming compensation against 35 psychiatrists. They use physical force-feeding and physical restraint in a mental health unit. None of the defendants has admitted liability or been found liable for the claims, which can now progress in the civil courts.
What are children doing in there in the first place?
Well, they have mental disorders. I don't know.
There's only one reason why you would force feed a child, and that's because they're not eating.
Yeah.
Which I look, I don't know about the case, but my argument would be, if there's a choice between the child starving to death and force feeding them, one would assume that force feeding them is a better option.
It depends how they force feed them, of course.
Do you know what? Why don't we not talk about this subject?
Well, let's talk about a similar one, because in the eye weekend, wear face mask if you feel ill. Public told us hospitals and schools face record flu surge. It's going about. There's a lot of it going about here. The face masks are back. A lot of people think this face mask is bad. I mean, I'm not too sure. If you've got a flu, right, if someone coughed in my face without a mask, you're going to get loads of water droplets in your face full of virus, a viral load. If you've got a mask on, a lot of those droplets won't go on your face, so there probably is benefits, but because of all the bad publicity that there's been, people are going, oh, they don't offer any benefit now, face masks. What's your view, Mike?
What about people who sort of cough and sneeze into the crook of their arm? I find that quite disgusting.
But it stops it going out, doesn't it? What do you just go
do me a favour, you go
all over everyone?
That's disgusting, a dirty, filthy sleeve.
But what do you do? Just cough it out and splatter it all over into people's faces?
No, I use a handkerchief like a normal person.
But actually, the medical argument against face masks is this: that if what you do is contain a virus which is highly contagious anyway to you, all that happens is it strengthens the virus, whereas if you spread it when it's at a low level, everyone's immunity is built stronger. This is the argument in between the lockdown that Britain did and herd immunity, which is what Sweden did. And we've all discovered that whatever you think of lockdowns and masks, they literally don't save any more lives than going about your normal business.
But they bankrupt the country.
Immunity, absolutely.
And also, there's a lot of different masks around as well. I can understand those big shield things. Watching people walk around in those just looks so stupid.
When you're Father Christmas and you don't have kids sitting on your knee now, probably it's not allowed. But to the
yes, I do. Yes, no, you can.
Oh, really? But do you ever? You know, they get all those flus, don't they, kids? You know, do you ever get anything from that?
I'm sure I do. My wife's got it at the moment. I think I got it for last weekend from some kids sitting on me. Actually, the other thing you get on your dogs.
That's not funny.
No. He meant as Father Christmas, yeah.
OK, what I was going to say to you, by the way, and this is a piece of advice that I would always give to everybody: never marry, date or live with a primary school teacher. The reason is because, look, they might be hot, they might be nice, they might be, and they're doing a great service to the public, but they are exposed to everything. They spend their lives ill, and you'll be permanently sick. And you know what? It's not worth it. She's not hot enough. Just get someone else. Honestly, never date a primary school teacher.
I'm still shocked about Ash and his sleeve. I can't believe you.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it. You can see there. That's what I use. There's little.
Exactly. That's what's disgusting.
Yeah, but you've got a hanky stuck up your arm.
No, I haven't.
It's not a rag up your arm, haven't you? Up your sleeve.
No, it's in my pocket.
Yeah. Do you wash them? Do you wash them every day?
Sorry.
Yes.
We're not having a discussion about whether you wash your handkerchief because it's not 1973, right? We're not doing. How do you treat your handkerchief? I don't, right?
How do you treat?
Can we have a look at your hanky?
Oh God.
I'm not wearing one at the moment.
Oh, right, OK. David Suchet, I miss Poirot. I knew him better than my friend. He's an actor. Right, the Daily Mirror.
No, do you know what that's like? I miss Poirot. It's almost like when you watch The One Show and you see these boy bands and they go, we thought it was time to get back together. I call it Felicity Needs Private School Fees reunion tour, which is, we thought it were the right time, which means we broke up because we all hate each other and now we're all broke and we're so broke we're willing to put up with each other again.
Can I request, as you're talking about medical things at the moment, you go to the front page of the Daily Mail, and on there, dementia kills 1 in 9, and it's time to end the cruel injustices. Because that is quite a story, and that is really worrying.
Right, yeah. Dementia patients face a postcode lottery of care, with the NHS failing to hit diagnosis targets in more than half of the country. Damning figures are real. By the way, a 69-year-old man with dementia, where there was some mishap where he didn't get his licence, has been charged and convicted of TV licence, failure to pay his TV licence. Disgusting.
By
the
the
BBC going after people with dementia.
By the way, just to be clear, prosecuting a man that you know is mentally incapable, finding him guilty as a magistrate, I want to just say to the BBC and the magistrate concerns, look up the legislation on misconduct in public office, which is an incredibly serious criminal offence that has a significant prison term associated with it. If you brought, and I don't say this disrespectfully, a dribbling fool into your court and prosecuted him for failing to remember what his name was, then you are guilty of misconduct in public office and you should go to prison.
76,000 lives are lost every year, and the Mail has started a campaign in association with the Alzheimer's Society that aims to raise awareness of the disease and increase early diagnosis. So, yeah, it's a postcode lottery out there.
I'll tell you what it actually is, Mike. I think it's a scam, and let me tell you what I think the scam is. Right, when my mother fell ill, I had a very good friend of mine, Rob, who his mother got ill, and he was taken to the family court accused of abusing her and hurting her and whatever. There was no truth in any of it. And what happened was the family court said, no, she's going to have to go into residential care, and her £4.5 million house is going to have to be sold and given to the care home. And amazingly, the week after the money ran out, she died. What a remarkable coincidence. I will tell you what I did when my mum fell ill. I said to my dad, the first question I'll ask is, how big's your house and how much money have you got? What you need to say is, I've got nothing, because what will happen is, the minute they sniff an elderly person with assets, they'll have them in a bloody care home at 600 quid a week, right, and they'll break you in half. And if you try and stop them, they'll accuse you of abuse and the family courts will back them. I guarantee you, if you've got an elderly relative, the number one thing you should do is take all the money, so they're worth absolutely nothing when these nurses get hold of them. And if they're worth nothing, then you can use their assets to protect them.
I don't think Mike's got any elderly relative. I think you are the elderly relative.
I think I am now. Yes, most of my elderly relatives are now gone, sadly enough. But also many with dementia. More and more of my friends are getting dementia now as well, which is very sad.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's environmental? Because it's on the rise. Cancers are on the rise. What do you think it is? Do you think it's something in our food or water or the air?
No idea. No idea what causes dementia. But that's what they're looking at, isn't it?
Well, maybe it's just because we're living longer.
I love that.
That's good.
I love that.
Do you know, every doctor I've seen recently has said to me, "You're getting old."
I love that.
Well, you knew that.
I love this bit where they go, so Mike's come on, he's a Santa impersonator, he's a radio presenter. The medical and scientific profession don't know the cause of dementia. And Asher goes, what do you think the cause of it is?
I thought Mike might know, he's a very wise man.
Can you imagine if he'd gone, well, I believe that protons in
good dementia.
Can you imagine if he'd gone, well, my own research suggests that if you eat too much protein and live near a nuclear power station...
Well, he's got a lot of spare time on his hands. I thought he might have done that. Anyway, the Daily Mirror, £2 free shop bet. Kate's Christmas lights, that's lovely. All the kids and William and Kate there, or Catherine, as you meant to call her now. England's World Cup 2026, one hell of a draw. We've got Croatia, Panama and Ghana in Group L as FIFA. Hail peacemaker Trump, because now we've got the FIFA Peace Prize. England will take on Croatia, Panama and Ghana in Group L, thanks to next year's World Cup. Thomas Tuchel's side will fancy their chances with the Three Lions. Anyway, also Donald Trump has won the FIFA peace
do me a
prize,
favour,
peace
Mike.
award.
Do me a favour, Mike.
Incredible.
I love Asher Gould to bits, but we've all done it. He's trying to give a sports story now.
We can do it better than talk sport. Don't you worry about that. We can do sport better.
No, I'm going to be
I can't
honest.
hardly read it.
Mike, I know nothing about this, nor do I know anything about Scotland's qualification. Can you help?
Well, all I can say is, aren't we lucky?
Are you a Brighton and Hove Albion fan?
Of course I am.
Did you see the other day you were 2-0 up at
shut
Brighton
up.
and Villa, and then we ended up beating you 4-3?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
That was terrible.
I know. Well, not for us, it wasn't. Who are Dave Starr? Thought for the day. It was a done deal. All right, okay. Don gets the first FIFA prize again, taking the piece. And this is what Orange Man Baby, this is what they call him. I'm a bit of an Orange Man Baby at the moment. Donald Trump finally got a peace award from FIFA President Gianni Infantino, gave close friend Trump the going for ending. I can't even read that.
Okay, well,
anyway, look, what do you think of
does
Donald
anyone
Trump?
actually
I
know
reckon
what-
you're a big Donald. You're sort of like a British Donald Trump in a way.
Well, I was a great Donald Trump fan until recently, and I'm just trying to work out all the wars that he's meant to have ended, and I can't really remember any of them.
The peace accords. What about the peace accords? What about
Abraham
Gaza
Accords.
getting the hostages released? King Jong-un
King Jong-un?
Yeah, that's what he's called, the king. Yeah, so what do you think about
No,
what he's
sure,
done in
that sounds
Gaza?
good.
He got the hostages released, Mike.
That's those videos you'll be watching, Ian Ash.
No, but what do you think? He has caused a lot of peace in the world.
I think there is one thing that you've got to say, which I find staggering. So Donald Trump is one of the first, probably the first American president ever to be explicitly elected on the "I'm not going to invade any other country, even if I disagree with what they do." First guy to do that, and he's made good on that pledge, right? And he has explicitly set out. Now, okay, has he overcooked the pudding, over-egged the pudding? Okay, he has, right? But Nagorno-Karabakh sorted. There's been situations across the world, loads of examples.
Russia wouldn't have invaded Ukraine if Trump would have been in the White House.
Now, look, he is a man who has done two things. Number one, explicitly ruled out ever invading anyone's country when he disagrees with them. First guy to do that. And secondly, he has explicitly gone out and sent unlimited resources to try and stop war across the world. Now, you might hate him, and I get that. And I'm not saying you do, but you might hate him, and I get that. But there is no doubt that he is the most pro-peace president in recent American history. And then you contrast that with Barack Obama, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for being elected, and he received it before he even took office. So he'd done zero.
That's very true. There's not about Trump that I'm concerned about. I was a great Trump fan. I've even got a Trump statue in my toilet. And
You've got
I
a
always
Trump
thought,
in your toilet.
Why have you gone off him, Mike?
Right, I think the way he treated Zelensky the first time, I think it's disgraceful.
Yeah.
Well, your mate from Ukraine.
Yeah.
I also thought the way he has been dealing with Gaza is not 100%.
Why? What was wrong there? I mean, he did get the hostages released.
What, himself personally?
Well, basically, yeah. Pretty much, that's what happened.
I disagree. It wasn't 100% him.
No, maybe not, but I mean, it probably was 80% him.
I've got to be honest with you, Mike. I'm with you on Zelensky, and I'll tell you why. Because Vladimir Zelensky deliberately wore military fatigues as long as his country was at war. He said, "I'm not willing to wear civilian clothes until the war's over." He slightly amended it for the Oval Office. However, and I understand if Donald Trump feels it's disrespectful to not dress appropriately for the Oval Office. However, given the circumstances, that was appropriate dress. It was.
Churchill used to wear stuff like that during the war. He actually had his own thing designed, sort of boiler.
Yeah. So what Zelensky did was he amended what he felt was, if you like, combat fatigues into as suity a version as he could. And if that offended Trump, I think Trump failed to recognise. I think.
And now he wears these suits that are really vulgar, aren't they? Like Top Man sort of things.
The problem with Donald Trump on Ukraine is this: Donald Trump has an Achilles heel, in my view, and it's that he can't stop being persuaded by Putin, right? Yeah. And the big problem is this: look, Putin is a lying scumbag who invaded someone's country. Now, by the way, Zelensky's a lying scumbag as well, but he didn't invade anybody's country, right? My argument is very, very simply this. Somebody who invades another country needs to have his face torn off and beaten into the floor as a matter of principle, because we saw with Germany in the 1930s that if they get away with it once, they'll get it. People like that will constantly push, right? And what you have to say is, I know Zelensky's a bit of a crook, I know Putin's a bit of a crook as well, but the guy who invaded somebody's country needs to lose.
And the peace plan, I think, for Ukraine is disgusting as well. To allow Putin to keep the land that he's already captured. It's just crazy.
He's going to have to pay for it, apparently, isn't he?
I'm kind of a bit in favour of that, and I'll tell you why.
Really?
Yeah, I'll explain why. I believe that all islands of the British Isles should be part of the United Kingdom. I don't agree with the independence of the Isle of Man. I don't agree with the independence of the Irish Republic, the Channel Islands, or whatever.
Yeah, but we wouldn't invade them.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so the big advantage of giving Ireland independence is, at the end of the day, you don't have to run around arguing with them. They can get on with it. I'm not going to fight anybody about the existence of the Irish Republic. And critically, here's the thing that Ukraine will benefit from if it cedes this territory. People who vote for pro-Russian parties are no longer living in Ukraine. And that clears Ukraine to do what it really wants to do, which is join the European Union. And I think get on with it.
Well, they want to join NATO, don't they, as well? And yesterday I heard they're not going to join NATO.
Well, if you look at what Maya Sandu has done in Moldova, Transnistria for years has gone, we want to be independent. We want to. Do you know what she said? Have it. Right. And Transnistria now is considering rejoining Moldova because she said, look, I'm not willing to lose my EU membership over you lot. I'll give you full independence. Forget it.
03444991000. I'm going to take a little breaky, but after the break is some new revelations about Farage and the Guardian. Ex-Dulwich pupil Farage told me that's the way to Africa. Back in a minute or two.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and our guest co-host is Mike Mendoza. Mike, you've been around in media for a significant amount of time. You know, you're somebody who's... I mean, most of our viewers and listeners are going to know who you are. They'll know you from this channel, that channel, wherever. We've been talking for the past 2 days about this BBC story, about the fact that the BBC have brought up what I think is a completely irrelevant detail about Nigel Farage's past. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but what I said is this. Teenage boys will lash out. They will hit the nuclear button in an argument, and it's right that parents and teachers discipline them for that. But to suggest that anything said in a teenage argument represents a long-term political view is utterly ludicrous. And if you are offended by what is said in a playground, waiting 49 years and then phoning the BBC instead of speaking to the person concerned is as phony as they come. What's your take on it, Mike?
I think you're quite right. And I can tell you that many years ago, there was a gentleman in Brighton, I won't name anyone, who ended up as mayor of Brighton at one time as well, who was actually Nazi black shirt in his youth. And after the war, when it all came clear, he knew exactly what was what and realised the error of his ways, ended up marrying a Jewish woman, of all things. So his, whatever his misdemeanours were in his youth, shouldn't carry on for later on.
What was it like in your day when you were a young lad back in the 20s?
Ash, in my young day, times were different. No mobile.
No, in the 50s, wouldn't it? It'd been in the 50s, sort of.
No, 40s, 50s,
and 50s, yeah.
Yeah. Well, life was just totally different. You can't compare the two.
No.
But Mike, I'll tell you, in your day and my day is actually fairly similar, because despite the gap in our ages, actually our schooling, me, Ash's and yours, was actually pretty similar, right? Textbooks and teachers and all that sort of thing, no iPads and all that sort of thing. I worry a great deal about photos and recordings and all this sort of thing. You know, at the end of the day, if I took a photo of myself in my underpants age 13 and sent it to a girl, you know, I don't want 50 years later for that to haunt me. But I worry about that. You know, I think school should be a place that is a private space to give you an opportunity to explore your ideas and to learn. And I think you know, this permanent record of everything.
There should be banned smartphones in schools.
This idea that we're going to say, hey, Mike Mendoza's running for Parliament. Let me tell you, in 1962 he sent a WhatsApp message that said X. You know, I think it is not going to make the world a better place.
We just go on 2 seconds to something else, which is Farage, it ain't half hot, mum attack on BBC's double standards, which in fact is in the Daily Mail. That really leads on to what you're saying at the moment, of course, as well. Reform UK leader turntables on broadcaster over 1970s show after it accuses him of schoolboy racism, which again is going on what you're talking about. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's been a long day today. I don't know if you saw the press conference yesterday.
I did.
But did he turn on the BBC right at the beginning? What he said...
Sorry, Mike, let me just say this to you, because this is something that we've said to our viewers and listeners, and you may agree, you may disagree. What worries me is that Farage and the BBC are two cheeks of the same backside, right? And what I mean by that is this. This is just a political tumble, isn't it? Now, a political tumble by a politician is acceptable, but a political tumble by a state-funded broadcaster, I'm afraid, is unacceptable. Farage loves it, and it will do well for Farage politically, and that's fine. But the BBC is now financing a straight-out political knifing of someone they don't like.
Not just him, but various organisations as well. They're pro-Palestinian many times as well, and we've seen that quite clearly in their broadcasting, and they've been found guilty of that as well.
Yeah, but I mean, like you say, ain't off hot mum and all that sort of thing. It was different years ago. I mean, your cousin was the world famous Peter Sellers, who obviously there was that very amazing film called The Party, where he was blacked up. He was played an Indian, and Spike Milligan, of course, he used to do that. He was born in India, Spike Milligan. So and I think Peter Sellers was in the army there, so they didn't know about these people, and it wasn't really that offensive, was it? It wasn't offensive. It was just playing different characters.
And Warren Mitchell is exactly the same. And
well, they always got the better of Warren Mitchell, didn't they? Alf Garnett, as he was in.
But again, the language was unbelievable.
Yeah, but he was made to look the fool by Marigold.
Where I disagree, and I'll invite you to comment on this, Mike, where I disagree is this, and we've had conversations this week with the family of one of the comedians that was mentioned in the Nigel Farage thing.
Bernard Manning, yeah.
Well, that's unhelpful. No, I'm not joking. It's not.
I talked about it last night.
Fair enough. But essentially, what they say is Nigel Farage should have known better. This is comedy, there are a series of jokes. I would have preferred if Nigel Farage had said, you're accusing me of being an anti-Semite, let me now list the straight-out lies and dishonesty that you have told recently about the war in Gaza. And the reason I make that point is this, that okay, we can talk about Bernard Manning. The reality is Bernard Manning was a war hero who's Jewish, and the reason he never defended himself is because he said, I'm just having a joke. I would have much preferred if Farage had cited genuine examples of BBC hypocrisy rather than going along with the nonsense claim that comedy in the past was setting out to racially abuse people.
And exactly the same accusations the ITV as well, if you remember, yesterday at the press conference. But Bernard Manning was blatantly anti-Semitic in some of his jokes.
Yeah, his grandpa was Jewish, Mike. He used to tell me about his Uncle Mayer and Uncle Shmuel who went to New York. He had shalom in his house. Yeah. You know, he considered himself ethnically Jewish, even though he was a Catholic. But he always used to go on to me, I love the Borscht Belt comedians. They were his heroes. So he certainly wasn't anti-Semitic. He wasn't. I don't think he was racist. He just liked to be offensive to everyone equally. Yeah. So he'd pick on whatever. If you were fat, you were thin. And he used to say, I'm a fat bee. You know, people say that all the time. This is just how it is. He was just equal opportunities, offensive.
It's the same about me, I take it, and that's the way you go. That's life, unfortunately. But Andre's quite right. He should have got a completely different tact in his attack yesterday. And what you say is 100%. All the things we can list, the things the BBC have been accused of over the last month or so, and they're the things he should be using.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing that Bernard Manning never did. Bernard Manning never read a Hamas propaganda statement out on the news as if it was genuine. He never did that. And I'll tell you what, you can racially abuse me, you can call me fat, you can call me ginger, you can insult me in whatever way you want, and nothing will be worse than lying about the behaviour of Israeli soldiers in Gaza, because the result of that is that people throw missiles at them.
100%, but not just at them, but at the Jews in this country have been attacked purely because of Israel's comments and what they've been doing over there. And look at Eurovision. I mean, Israel have done.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a good thing. These lot of whiners aren't going to be there. Good riddance to them. Anyway, Mike, thanks. It was great. Where can we see you in Brighton quickly? Up in that tower, spinning around.
On the I-360, if you want to see me in Santa.
So go and see Mike there. Anyway, it's me and the Fat Ginger. We're on Talk 03444991000.
Hey, listen.
He doesn't care.
If I was offended by being ginger, I wouldn't dye my hair that colour.
Look a bit like Bernard Manning. Back after this.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. And do you know something? I just feel so much more alive after that holiday.
Yeah, it's really giving you a boost, doesn't it? A break is a change is as good as a rest, but a rest is...
I'll be honest with you, since I started this company, 6 years ago, I've never had a day off, apart from...
Yeah, but you had a nice time, didn't you? You were wearing your Man from Del Monte hat and you were relaxing in the church.
I will tell you, I wore a white jacket and a white hat. Yeah. I was being widely ridiculed as I walked.
And rightfully so.
Widely ridiculed.
Georgina in London.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's still evening, isn't it? It's not morning yet. Yeah. I wanted to talk about the BBC, if that would be okay.
Of course it is, yeah.
Of course.
Well, I found that they're as untrustworthy as our present government, and instead of being impartial, they just push forth their own narrative. They've been caught out more times than you can shake a stick at, and don't seem to have either accountability or responsibility for their actions. I mean, I think they've certainly got a grievance with Nigel Farage, not content with their makeup artist smearing his face with bodily fluids. Now they've got to vilify him for things that he's supposed to have said when he was a child.
Georgina, let me tell you this, and it's not my job to give a précis of the history of this company, but I get lefties shouting at me about the mistakes that this company's made over the years. I will tell you something. This company has never falsified bank statements in order to persuade a British princess that her husband was plotting to kill her, which the result of which was that she stopped having her own professional driver, and the result was she ended up with a drunk in a car in Paris. And people phone me up and go, how can you work for this company? They've done this, that and the other. I will tell you, they would never do that. If you walked...
We're actually very trusting in our... I mean, Archie Edwards, the photographer, he was very trusted and actually, you know, friends with William, Harry and Diana. Very trusted by the royal family, rightfully so.
If you went to the graphic designers of this company saying, do me a favour, falsify a bank statement so I can pretend to a member of the royal family their husband's trying to kill them, they'd march you off the premises.
Well, you know, I mean, we can sit and we can surmise what happened that fateful night, and we can surmise what was said behind closed doors, but we will never know the truth.
No, I'll tell you what we will know.
We know she got rid of her bodyguards because of that, Martin.
I'll tell you what we will know. What we will know is that she cancelled her professional driver and armour-plated vehicle because Martin Bashir had told her and falsified bank statements that the driver himself was selling stories to the newspaper. Now, I don't know what you believe about Princess Diana's death, and it doesn't bother me.
He falsified abortion.
But I will tell you, the driver working for her, who'd worked for her for 20 years, and the armour-plated car would not have crashed in that tunnel.
Absolutely not, and I agree with every word you just said. But going back to the BBC, if we may, I mean, I was a young woman in the 1970s, and to look back at the programmes that was aired by the BBC then, I don't think I would be alone in thinking that the BBC were indeed very racist in their output. So where is their profuse apologies? You know, it's a classic case.
Well, they still are racist in their output. I mean, look at the 2 complaints upheld on average a week with Gaza.
Absolutely. I mean, they hate.
They're just more subtle these days.
Georgina, let me once again. I'm just going to compare and contrast this company with the BBC. If Asher Gould walked into the office on Monday and he said, "Hey, I've got a real problem here, guys. The problem is no hotel will put me up in London because I like inviting 12-year-old girls back to the hotel and that causes trouble. Can I park my caravan in your drive so I can get them back there?" He would be reported to the police. Jimmy Savile did it. Jimmy Savile did it. Oh, I'm sorry. No hotel will accommodate me because I'm bringing the 12-year-old back. Hey, Jimmy, buy a caravan and stick it in the drive. What sort of a group of people would do that?
Well said, Andre. You know, they can keep their biased opinions, political spin and their two-tier hypocrisy. I feel that anyone with half a brain cell or any intelligence would feel the same as you and I do.
Georgina, we've got to cut you off because Ben is waiting. Ben, you've only got 30 seconds, but go for it.
Hi, Andre. First of all, Georgina is a mainstay on talk radio. I'll tell you that now.
20 seconds.
She is, but
10 seconds. Look, we're going to keep you on after the news, Ben, because you've not got enough time. But carry on a bit.
1869 rights to bear arms. Okay. Now, all I'm saying is that we have a right to bear arms as Protestants, as long as they are clear and reasonable.
I don't think that's right. Ben. I wouldn't go out and bear arms if you're a Protestant. But we'll come back to Ben after the news. Don't bear arms until we've really found out. I don't think he's right there. No one go out bearing arms, even if you're Protestant. 0344 499 1000. It's Talk. It's Andre and Ash. Join us in a couple of minutes.
Oh, aye.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Guys, I've no idea why I did this, but the reason I was rushing the latter bit of that hour is for some reason I got it into my head that was the end of the show. I was thinking it'd gone quite quickly.
It did go very quickly, but unfortunately, no, it's not. Not fortunately.
So what I said to Ben earlier was, you've only got 30 seconds. Ben, you've not got 30 seconons.
Yeah.
You've got lots of time
to tell us why we can bear arms.
Ben in London. Yeah. Let's do it.
Hi again. Yeah, okay. So, 1869, there was no specific or universal right to bear arms, as is commonly understood today. However, there was a minimal restriction on owning firearms in the UK. The concept of the right to have arms in England originated from the Bill of Rights, which granted Protestants the right to have arms for their defence, suitable.
Yeah, but we've got the Firearms Act, which supersedes it. Statutes of Parliament supersede.
No, wait. We look at 1689. There's no firearms in 1689.
No, but now we've had the Firearms Act since, haven't we?
Okay, suitable for their own conditions as allowed by law. But during the Victorian era, the common law was clear, which recognised the constitutional right for subjects to have arms for their own protection.
Yeah, but that's superseded by statutes in Parliament.
No, hang on, Ash, hang on.
Yeah.
And to discharge the duty to the state. The law requires citizens to arm themselves for the defence of the realm, for the realm, obviously, as soldiers, but their primary restrictions was the weapons were related to preserving game or maintaining compulsory, remember, we're going back to 1600s, longbow practice.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, here is the problem with that. Asher is completely right in what he says. The bit that people misunderstand is this: the difference between the United Kingdom and the United States of America. In the United States of America, they've got what's called a codified constitution. That is to say, there is a constitutional document that is more... No, let me explain, Ben, because you are wrong. The constitutional document is a superior level of law to the other laws that exist. What has happened in Britain, because it has an uncodified constitution, is that the constitution is not in one single document, all laws are equal. So if you say the Bill of Rights in America guarantees free speech, that would be correct. If you say the Bill of Rights in the United Kingdom guarantees anything, then the fact a later law removed that right would mean it doesn't exist.
As Lammy is trying to do with the jury system, which you have for 800 years.
Yeah, this is where I come back to you. Rights are given, rules are taken away.
But
rights are taken away by statutes.
But the slight problem with all of that is all law is equal in the United Kingdom, and the most recent iteration of the law is the one that takes precedent. So what you think? No. Hang on a second. What you think is no. Stop for a second. What you think is there is a body of constitutional law that is superior to regular law. That would be true in America. It is not true in Britain.
Not at all. I didn't say it's superior. I never said
so your right to bear arms has been superseded, therefore it doesn't exist.
We as people are given rights.
Yeah, but they're taken away when statutes come in and say you can't have that right anymore.
Can we just stop this? Can we just stop this? Stop this, please. Stop. Right, the big problem with this, Ben is a very nice bloke, but the problem is he's just going to confuse people. Right. Any legislation in this country that is superseded by a later piece of legislation is deemed repealed, right? Now, you can talk about common law rights, you can talk about historic rights, you can talk about whatever. If Parliament gives you the right to bear arms and later takes it away, there is no right to bear arms. Now, in the United States of America, there is a body of constitutional law which is superior to normal law. The problem with all of this is if we get into an argument about this where one person is completely wrong, we're just going to confuse everyone.
All right, well, let's go from Ben in London to Ken in London for a much more sensible call on this Saturday morning.
No, but in defence of Ben...
Should we go back to Ben?
No,
let's... Ben, do you now agree with Andre?
In some way, because the minimal regulation is there were no significant legal restrictions on keeping firearms in a home.
He's not going to agree. Ken in London.
Sorry, can we just be clear
just
on
don't
this?
bear arms,
No, hang on a second. Hang on a second. We've just got to be clear here to be responsible. There are significant prohibitions to carrying firearms in the United Kingdom. You should not come to this country with a gun in the belief that the Magna Carta or indeed the Bill of Rights gives you a right to have a machine gun. You'll be arrested at the airport.
Ken.
Good morning,
gentlemen. Morning, Ken. What's up, man?
I was in Sainsbury's today.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That means praise the Lord.
Apparently the Qataris they want to sell Sainsbury's now. What's going on in Sainsbury's?
Listen, I was in Sainsbury's today.
And what happened? Good food costs less when it's Sainsbury's, although maybe not anymore. Ken?
Can I speak?
You will. Yes, you can.
I was in Sainsbury's today.
Yeah, we know that.
And I speak to the manager. I've been doing it since I moved to London from Leeds about 7 years ago. At Christmas time, I always go to the managers in the big stores at Christmas, and I draw to their attention that at Christmas time, there is never one mention in any of these big stores, Tesco, Sainsbury, you name them, of the name of Jesus.
It annoys me.
Never.
They've banned Christmas jumpers at, where was it, HSBC? Because it might trigger people, Ken. Well, I like Christmas. I mean, they are a bit vulgar sometimes, but I like to see them around Christmas time. What's your view on Christmas jumpers triggering people?
Hang on a second. Can we engage with this specific issue? I like to send Christmas cards with the nativity on them. They're not that easy to find, actually, Ken.
Listen, there's never a... The next time you go into a store over Christmas, you'll see there's never a mention of Jesus. Anyway, I do that for a purpose, to draw to their attention their anti-Christ, shameful attitude towards Christianity in our country. Now, here's a thought for the day for everybody, I hope.
But here's what annoys me, Ken. Here's what annoys me. So, first of all, I think you're completely right. So, first of all, Christmas is a religious celebration. And the fact that you've managed to deck out your entire shop without mentioning what the celebration's about is remarkable. Look, I think in a Christian country, during a Christian festival, now you might want your Father Christmas, you might want your Christmas tree, you might want all the tinsel and all that sort of thing and mince pies and whatever, but the basic is to say this is about the birth of Christ, right? You've got to say it somewhere.
The point I'm trying to make here is that we're under attack, and the Christians are under attack in this country more than ever before in history, actually. But the attack is coming from Islam now in the past 20 years or so. But the biggest attack coming against Christianity in this country is coming from the governments of the land, from atheists, and for those who believe...
It's self-hating people. Like I said, in Birmingham, they wanted to call it, a winter festival, a winterval. And the top rabbi in Birmingham, the top imam in Birmingham, they complained. They said, don't put this on us. And it's sort of the white saviour people doing it, and that's what's probably happened in Sainsbury's.
Yes, that's correct. I would agree with that, Ash. Yeah. The Muslims are not against Christmas. They believe Jesus is only a prophet, so they don't mind remembering Jesus. They regard him only as a prophet. That's where they're false. But the main attack against Christianity is coming from atheists in this country.
But what happens, Ken? What happens, Ken, is this. And by the way, you're pushing on an open door with me. I completely agree with you on this. Here's the issue. What Sainsbury's or Asda or Tesco's will do, they'll go, right, what we want to be is inclusive. Okay, fine. Well, you want to be inclusive, that's okay. So we'll have the mince pies, yeah, okay. We'll have the Father Christmas, we'll have the Christmas tree, we'll have the tints, we'll have the baubles, right, because that's universal. Well, actually, it's not, because there are a group of people, and myself included, who want to say, this is the birth of Christ, hallelujah, right? Now, actually, when you say that we are inclusive of everybody, what you really mean is that those people who are radical atheists don't like to admit that Christmas is a religious celebration, therefore the Christians should be ignored. That's what you're saying.
I would agree with that viewpoint, Andre. But here, I'd like to just draw to your attention. This is going to increase as the years go by here. But I'd like to draw to your attention right now what's happening in the world. When a nation turns its back on Jesus and the Bible, God's judgment always comes. Now, what's happening in the world today, and everybody can see this if they're observant. Right now, the world nations are preparing for war. Tactical nuclear weapons will be used. Right now, Poland has got the largest army in Europe. Germany now is trying to become larger than that. Sweden, UK, Germany, France, Russia, China, you name it, they're all rearming, they're preparing for war. Now, in the last war, before Hitler attacked Poland, the world nations knew that Germany and Hitler were preparing for war, and they were totally unprepared. Now, this time, most of the nations at the same time are preparing for war, and this is all according to Bible prophecy. We are headed, listen to what I'm saying, friends, we are headed for the greatest time of war and death in human history.
But the reason for that, Ken, in my view, is this. So, I look at the quality of government, and I look at MPs, members of the House of Lords, all these people, hand in the till, lazy, incompetent, anti-democratic, don't give a toss about real people. And the reality is, if every single person did their duty, if every single person behaved in a moral and decent and Christian way, there would not be a war. The reason we're sliding towards war is because people have put themselves ahead of their duty. And I'm going to say this once again to you, Ken. You know, you and I can disagree and argue all the time, but I do not understand why you walking into Sainsbury's saying, where is the name of God at Christmas, makes you a lunatic. It's a Christian country and it's a Christian festival. Why are you the nutter?
Let me tell you what happened when I did that today. While I was talking to this, there was actually two managers that asked to speak to the manager to ask them these questions. While I was having a discussion with them, and I wasn't blaming the manager, I was talking about the attitude towards Christianity, a woman butted in. She broke into a conversation, very angry at me, very angry. She may be in her late 50s. She broke into the conversation and was correcting me in a very angry manner. Why? Because I was asking why the name of Jesus wasn't shown anywhere.
Well, look, let's have a chat. Ali in West Yorkshire, you want to talk about the World Cup draw, but have you got any views on this, Ali, about Christmas in shops and everything?
Hello?
Hi, Ali.
You're right.
What happens when you go into Sainsbury's, Tesco's, and you see Christmas things up? Do you mind, or do you not? You know, it's. I mean, as a Jew myself, I actually love Christmas.
I don't mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't see the issue.
Exactly. It's the white saviours, basically, the people who hate themselves in a way that are anti. You're still there, by the way, Ken. So you see, you're right.
Yeah, Ali's a Muslim. As I said to you, the Muslims are not against Christmas.
No.
The ones against Christmas are atheists, evolutionist believers, and the governments of the land. This is the problem. And I'd just like to remind you all, this Christmas, for the Christians celebrate Jesus Christ every day of our lives, not on a Christmas day or on a Sunday. A true Christian who loves Jesus and has turned from sin to follow Jesus and been born again, we, by the grace of God, we celebrate and we give God glory as best we can.
Well, let's just for all the viewers and listeners recap what Ken said. Think about this. Ken walks in as a Christian in a Christian country, and he looks at all the Christmas decorations. It all looks great, all looks amazing. And he says, hang on a second, this is about the birth of Christ. Where is the name Jesus Christ? And he asks the management of Sainsbury's to discuss this. Now, I think so far it's a fairly reasonable question. And then in his discussion about why on earth they've missed out the central focus of this celebration, a woman who's got nothing to do with it, some just made up, obnoxious, whatever, walks in and goes, how dare you ask why Christmas doesn't have Christ in it? Not, I personally don't want Jesus as part of this. Not, I'm happy with the decorations. How dare you as a Christian question why a Christian festival has missed out Christ?
In a Christian country.
I mean, Ken, it's extraordinary.
Amazing. But listen, I want to just go on a good note, and thanks for allowing me free speech here. I want to say to everybody today, I would encourage you this morning to begin to read the Bible. It is history in advance. The Messiah is coming, my friends. This world is headed for nuclear war and Armageddon. Yeah. The Messiah is coming
for the first time
and judge the world. Waking up, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ken.
God bless you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. Look, I have to say to you, Ken and I lock horns on a regular basis, but I'm sorry if you think what he said is extreme or loony or whatever. I think you're an idiot. Why not walk into Sainsbury's and say, "Hey, I'm a Christian. Where's Jesus Christ?" Then some woman comes up and goes, "How dare you even question?" It's a fair question.
Typical. Anyway, Ali's still here. So thanks for answering that, Ali. But you wanted to talk about the World Cup, didn't you?
Yeah, guys, yeah. Just about like how political the World Cup, the football has become now under FIFA.
Has it? I don't know.
Because of the Trump Peace Award, you mean?
Yeah, but if you look at the entire most of the show was around Donald Trump and just politics in general.
Ali, do me a favour. Do me a favour, because I've seen the front page as well. I don't get it. You're clearly somebody that's in the know. So my instinct is, look, FIFA and UEFA are a bunch of crooks. The IOC, bunch of crooks. All these international sporting organisations, they've got the hand in the till. It's been reported in the Sun newspaper and the Times 1 billion times.
Panorama,
right.
Yeah.
So I assumed the reason that FIFA gave Donald Trump a peace award was because they were very frightened that he might actually investigate them. So I assumed it was just some old bribery load of rubbish. What actually happened, Ali? Can you explain for my benefit?
Yeah, it's not really about the Peace Prize. It's just like it's not just that. Like all the funding, like they've basically like gone with the begging bowls and they've gotten loads of money off Trump and America.
So do you think
politics previously with any other country?
Let's be clear. Ali makes a reasonable point, right? To award and venerate a politician is something that not even FIFA has done before. It is an odd piece of behaviour.
Not in the open, anyway.
It is an odd piece of behaviour.
But it's not just that. It's just that I would like to say, like last time in the media, every day in the run up to the World Cup, it was constantly on about Qatar and how they shouldn't be allowed to host the World Cup. But I'm not seeing any of that same scrutiny of America under Trump. I'm not seeing any of that.
It's not the same thing. It's a democracy versus an authoritarian.
Okay. Well, look. So I'll answer that. So, was it important for an Islamic nation to host the World Cup? Yeah, I think it was. Qatar. There are allegations that Qatar bribed officials, whatever. Let me tell you something. Olympic bids, FIFA, UEFA, the level of bribery is endemic within these organisations anyway. So I imagine that Qatar was no worse than anybody else, but I don't know.
Well, apart from deaths, when we built Wembley, I think one man died. When they built the stadiums in Qatar, I think 6,000 sort of slaves died. So there is a bit of a difference. Should we keep politics out of sport?
No. Can I just? So that's a good question. But can I go back to the point that Asha made? Hang on, Ali. Ali, I'm just going to make one sentence. Ali, just one sentence. Ali, just one sentence. I think the reason that there was criticism of Qatar and there wasn't criticism of America is because Qatar employed slave labour and killed 6,000 people. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but America's killed. How many countries has it destroyed?
But not building the stadiums.
I would just like to ask that. How many countries has Qatar destroyed?
No. Okay, but not building the stadiums. So my understanding is the complaints against Qatar is the stand of health and safety for the workers was poor.
No, the reason why I want to come out is because I was actually there at the World Cup in Qatar. I went to Lusail. I went to 2 group games at the time. And it was one of the best experiences.
Yeah, but do you remember they said, don't worry if you're gay, you can come and have a hotel room. And they said, don't worry, you can drink beer. Then when you got there, they go, no, you can't drink beer and gay men can't stay inside.
Hang on a second, Ali.
They asked loads of women in the polls. It was the safest World Cup for women.
But hang on, Ali. Ali, you're one of my favourite callers. You're pretty good, right? But I don't think Qatar was criticised because it was an Islamic nation, or it's international, whatever, or indeed it's gay rights, whatever. I think it was criticised because 6,000 people were killed building the stadiums.
I agree with that. Yeah, rightly so. It should be, but I think America should also be criticised under Trump.
But do you think sport and politics are a good mix?
No, definitely not.
But what would you say about Maccabi Tel Aviv fans? Should they have been banned from Villa Park?
Those racist Zionist hooligans.
Politics should come in when you think when it's your politics, but it should be banned from others.
When it was the hooligans should be banned.
They're not hooligans, were they? That was a narrative that changed. I mean, we know what happened in Amsterdam.
Well,
it wasn't.
They were chanting death to Arabs, and
they weren't. Look, the British police can handle hooligans a lot worse than Maccabi Tel Aviv. It was nothing to do with hooligans. It was to do with Jew hunts, which is what happened in Amsterdam.
Okay, so let me tell you my understanding of the Maccabi Tel Aviv thing. Right, so first of all, the banning of hooligans is a well-established thing that happens at every single international football match, and that's fine. Okay, so I don't know a great deal about football, but it seems to me that whilst Galatasaray can play internationally and the hooligans are stopped from travelling, in the case of Maccabi Tel Aviv, every single person, even people who are not accused of hooliganism, are banned. And I don't understand why.
They weren't hooligans, and that wasn't the original. It was because of safety originally, and there was nothing. They said, and the police lied. The West Midlands police lied. They said the Dutch police had told them they're hooligans. The Dutch police came out and said, no, that's total bunkum. They'd lied. What happened in Amsterdam was set up over a few days where taxi drivers saying they're coming over here, we're going to have a Jew hunt, and that's what happened. And then you changed the narrative in Birmingham with the MPs for Gaza that we've got there, and he said, they're really bad. Hardly bad. We can take Millwall fans, mate.
I'll tell you what happened in Amsterdam. They got rocked up at Amsterdam. They were chanting death to Arabs.
Yeah, of course it was.
They were carrying Palestinian flags. They were attacking.
Was there no cab drivers for a few days before saying let's get these Jews?
I don't think that's the issue. Hang on, stop. Okay, right. So you're arguing about whether there was an argument in Amsterdam. Right. Here's the point that I'm making. The banning of hooligans is a well laid out strategy. Why was it that in the case of Maccabi Tel Aviv, everyone was banned, including people who are demonstrably not hooligans. Why did that happen? That's a bit I don't understand.
It was done on safety grounds because a large portion of their fans are hooligans. They are members of the IDF. They're
That's an army. It's not a hooligans. I mean, what we can take Millwall fans, which are, or Chelsea fans, or Leeds fans, or Birmingham City fans.
I don't see Millwall fans or Leeds fans going around chanting death to Arabs.
Have you not heard? Have you not ever been to football where they chant the worst things? Man United will sing terrible songs about Hillsborough, and Liverpool fans will sing terrible songs about the Munich air crash. It's sort of a bit like the Farage thing when you say stupid things.
We've got to go to a break. But all I can say, knowing very little about football, my understanding is hooligans get banned and non-hooligans are allowed to continue to go to the match. In the case,
it was never about hooligans. I
don't want to make it sound like I'm being flippant about these things, but in a sense, I'm not bothered about Amsterdam. And I'll tell you why I'm not bothered. Because the behaviour of a minority of hooligans ought to solicit the response of hooligans being banned. The problem with Maccabi Tel Aviv is people who demonstrably not hooligans were banned, and I can think of no examples of a recent football match in Europe where non-hooligans were banned as well. And Ali's answer, and I like Ali a great deal, and I think he's a clever guy, but his answer is everyone from Maccabi Tel Aviv was a hooligan, and that is demonstrably not true.
But also, it was never about hooligans. It was basically like what they're doing in Eurovision now. They just didn't want Israelis over here for obvious reasons. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. It's Andre Nash. Give us a ring on that number, and we'll talk to William, Robert, Cindy, Grace, Eva, Howard, John, Jane in Marbella, and you as well after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And I know sometimes you get annoyed with me about this, but I hate sloppy terminology. And I just want to address what we heard earlier, and Asher and I can disagree if we want. Right, just to be clear, the definition of a hooligan is somebody who causes trouble, riots, uses racist abuse or whatever. When you say all hooligans should be banned from football, and I say, why is that all of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans? And then you say the definition of a hooligan is anyone who riots, anyone who uses racist language, anyone who fights, anyone who's been in the military, anybody who's a Zionist, and anybody who supports Maccabi. Well, I'm sorry, that isn't the definition of hooligan. Now, if you want to ban Jewish people or Israelis from a sporting contest, okay, but you have to say that. You can't say, we always ban hooligans from football matches, and the definition of hooligan in this case is anyone who's a Jew. Well, that's not the definition of hooligan.
No, and actually it's a racist term, isn't it? Because it's named after the hooligans in Ireland, isn't it? That's where hooligans comes from. It actually
no idea.
is. Yeah, it is. So stop using that word. We have to think of a new word. William in Aloha. Aloha must be in Hawaii. Hi, William.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning. Aloha.
Yes, it's been an interesting week. What I wanted to say, Ash, is I think there's a few themes that have come up for me this week. The big one is hypocrisy. We've heard from the politicians that, you know, they're so often telling us about democracy, but really what they're saying to us this week is not that type of democracy. They don't want us voting reforms, seemingly.
Sorry.
They only want their democracy.
I read a paper from the European Commission called Safeguarding Democracy, and what it said was we need to ban certain political parties because there's a danger of them winning the election, and if we ban these political parties, we'll be safeguarding our democracy.
Yeah.
I struggle to see how that works.
That's what's going on in Germany. That's what's going on here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like an inversion. And I think it's interesting, you've touched on what's going on with the BBC and reform, but I've also been following this story of Eurovision and Israel. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not gay or anything, but I love Eurovision. And I hope Israel does. I wish Israel the best, and I think Israel should be in it. And I think the people that are clamouring for this, what do we call them? Are they called the gullible gang?
But I think
the useful idiots.
If I was sat in the Knesset or in any government position in Israel, I'd actually be laughing my socks off, because what happened last year is going to happen this year, which is every judge will give Israel 0 and they will win the public vote. And basically what's going to happen is they're going to go, look, the reality is the public quite like us, which has been proved, and the judges are just racist against us. And as long as Israel wins the public vote overwhelmingly, you just look like an idiot by boycotting them. You do, you just look like Phil.
Yep. And they do now, don't they? They'll be languishing at home and everyone's pretty happy because they're a miserable bunch.
And what's going to happen here, and I guarantee you, and maybe it shouldn't happen, the viewers and listeners of this channel are all going to go when Eurovision comes on and vote for Israel, even if they walk out on stage and do a dump on the stage.
And all the judges won't.
And they'll just go, we're just going to vote for Israel just to have a go at the judges that hate them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for me this is another case of just selective outrage, that people are looking about Israel, and you hear they've been phoning here and they talk about Zionism, but does anyone ever actually think about all of the other civilizations and groups of people in that area of the world that no longer exist? So the Jews exist, and they exist in what used to be Judea, but there was the Assyrians, there was the Arameans, there was the Nabateans, the Himyarites, the Amazigh in Morocco, there was the Berbers and there was the Copts in Egypt. Arab colonialism has been a big problem throughout history. We don't hear that. So I think Israel, there is bad stuff that Israel does, but to me there's good stuff that they do. And I think I would actually love these people who are complaining to actually say, you know what, why don't we get Palestine in Eurovision? Like, register whatever they need to do, actually be there, as opposed to just trying to tear another country down. And
what upsets me, and it's clearly the basis of the Donald Trump-Abraham Accords, is this. Look, the biggest victims are the Palestinians, who are being played by people. They've got awful governments and all this sort of thing, right? There's a reason why they won't open up the port of Gaza, because it's better that these people starve and don't have
proper... They've been pawns for 80 years.
But the reality is... nowadays, what is starting to happen is increasingly in the Islamic world, people are bored of it and sick of it. Your average person in many of these Muslim countries don't give the slightest toss about Jews living 500, 1,000 miles away in Israel. What's happened is they're being deliberately wound up rather than receiving proper quality government themselves and proper economics. Yeah. And whatever you think of Mohammed bin Salman, and you know, he's a controversial figure, he's the first person to sign, well, one of the first people to sign a document that said, do you know what, I genuinely don't care that Israel exists. He's not done it quite
I mean,
yet,
it says it in the Quran that Israel is a place for the Jews. But anyway, William, don't you think, what do you do on Eurovision night? Do you think also there should be a Scottish, Welsh and English song rather than the UK?
No.
You could have the Proclaimers.
No, I don't participate in any of that. I think the UK is always a joke. You know, we're never really in it. But I just love the
It's beneath us, isn't it? I mean, we've run pop music for years with America.
What we need to do, remember, is every country gets equal weight in the judging, right? It's time that we flex some muscle, right? Let's remind ourselves that the Isle of Man, right, is an independent country. Let's remind ourselves
the
that
Brotherhood of Man.
Gibraltar is an independent country. Let's remind ourselves about the Channel Islands, right? Let's remind ourselves about, guess this, Decalia and Aquitaria. Yes, that's right. The two bits of Cyprus that are British sovereign territory. We need to get Decalia voting, Aquitaria voting separately. I've just come up with 5 countries there that will vote for Britain, right? We've got to start playing the game.
No one ever says free Cyprus, do they, from the Turks that have invaded the top, do they? And they're like a NATO...
in fact, actually, William, I'll put this to you. That is something that irritates me. 145 miles from Israel is a country that is occupied by a Muslim country that invaded it. Cyprus. Where are the protests? Don't care.
Yeah, NATO country as well.
You've also got Azerbaijan. I mean, it was in 2023, there was 100,000 people displaced in Armenia by the Azerbaijanis, and there was no calls to stop Azerbaijanis. So this has to stop. This has to be called out, and I think people have to take one step forward and say, you know what, all these people waving the flag for Palestine, take some responsibility, Palestine. You know, create a country. Stop, using the money that you have to build bombs and destroy.
They don't want to create a country. What they want to do is get the Jews out of that. That's their main goal. It's not for them to have a country.
What upsets me, and William, I think you're absolutely right. If somebody was to come into this studio or debate me and say, Andre, I really hate what Israel has done to the West Bank and Gaza, but equally, I really think we need to build a proper government for these places. I think we need to have a proper security situation. I think we need to put the terrorists in prison. I think we need to make sure there's proper financial oversight of the aid. I think there needs to be independent courts and all this sort of... If somebody said that, I'd go, OK, I'll buy it. But if you turn round and say, I am happy with a terrorist government in Gaza throwing their political opponents off buildings, and my main concern is that Israel has to get rid of these terrorists every now and again, then I just think you're a hypocrite.
But that's basically the UN's position.
It is the UN's position.
Yeah, but listen, guys, are you familiar with the term Gazawood and Pallywood?
Yeah, where they fake all the injuries, like a kid injured and it's tomato ketchup and all that. And that's the other thing, they say there's no journalists or cameras. There's thousands of cameras. Everyone's got mobile phones. If there'd been atrocities there, believe me, you'd be seeing it. But all they can do is fake photos.
Yeah, we're not seeing stuff from Nigeria and Sudan in the same way that we saw stuff from Gaza. So a lot of people, they're seeing fake videos, but they think they're real. And even
William, even if the videos are real, here's what upsets me. The reason that they put weapons in hospitals and whatever is because they know that when the Israelis come in to get the weapons, there is now a high risk of civilians being harmed in that process. And so what they're basically doing is they're saying, let's put the weapons behind our kids in the hope an Israeli accidentally shoots a child, we can film it and stick it on social media.
Hospital, yeah.
Let me tell you, that is about as morally bankrupt as it gets.
Yeah, that needs to be called out. But so often the gullible gang that I call them, they just see the other side wants them to sympathise.
Well, they're not really gullible. I mean, the BBC go, "Oh, you've hit a hospital," and they go, "Well, there's no proof that Hamas had a big base underneath." Well, hold on, you've been sending your journalists to do the interviews in the hospital reception, and Hamas people have been coming upstairs for like a decade, so they knew full well that they were using hospitals and schools.
But let's ask ourselves this question. So imagine, William, you were the president of Gaza. Imagine I was, imagine Asher was. You have built an underground bunker system bigger than the London Underground. And when the Israeli bombs start dropping, you do one thing. you refuse any civilian to go inside. You say these bunkers are reserved for military forces only. If I was the president of Gaza, I would say every single child, every woman, every civilian goes into that bunker. What they actually said was this: our fighters go in the bunkers so the Israelis can accidentally hit you, so we can film it and put it on social media. That is disgusting.
Yeah, and they were taking a lot of the aid, and they were taking it underground, and they were enjoying the aid while the everyday Gaza.
A bunker system big enough to protect every single civilian when the bombs drop, and you've banned them all. That's all you need to know.
And also,
all you need to know.
Egypt had a border, and no one ever had a go about Egypt.
Well, yeah, but we need answers from our main broadcasters. Why is the BBC not told this side of the story? I mean,
because they're on the Hamas side. They're not like, they're not impartial.
Because the BBC, let's boil it down. Let's boil it down even further. The BBC would rather show blood and guts of a child who had a space in the bunker but was denied that space in the bunker by a terrorist organ. They would rather show that than admit the truth. This child is a human sacrifice to the politics of these disgusting people at Hamas.
I mean, Jeremy Bowen, he reported that 500 people had been killed by one missile, which is pretty much unheard of anyway. It should have rung alarm bells with that. And then it comes out it was hardly anyone, and it was Islamic Jihad misfiring a missile. And then they go, are you going to apologise? And he goes, no. That tells you everything.
I'll tell you what I want to do for the viewers and listeners of this show. I dare you to phone up and justify not allowing civilians into the bunkers. Phone up, explain why. What is Hamas's argument against that? What are they going to say if they were sat here now? We had space for all the civilians in the bunkers, but instead we stuck them in the buildings we knew the Israelis were going to bomb. I wonder.
Thanks, William. Anyway, 03444991000. I think we've got a little break here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Back in a couple of minutes.
Feeling robust.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, Asher and I were talking during the break, as we always do, and I was once again lamenting the fact that these kids, women and civilians are not allowed into the bunkers. And Asher said, do you know what they say to the kids in Gaza? Look, if you are killed by the Israelis, don't worry, you're going to heaven. And you're a martyr. My advice is this to Hamas: Why don't you martyr yourselves first? You go to heaven, see how it is, and then we'll do the kids after you. So whilst you're cowering in the bunker and the kids are going to heaven, I think we need to swap that over.
By the way, if you're over 13, you're old enough to be a militant. In Iran, the IRGC, when they took control, what they did with under 12s is they said, well, you're too young to fight, you're too small. But what you can do is walk across minefields and blow up mines for us. We'll give you a little necklace with something around it, something.
I'll tell you,
tens of thousands of kids were blown to smithereens.
Can you imagine if I walked into your house and I said to you, hey, I've got this great idea. Why don't we build a bunker under your house that you and me can go into? Let's get all the 9-year-olds here, right? Yeah. And then let's make sure the Israelis know that this is where they are. Fix a webcam on the wall, because when they get blown up, it might be good on the footage to circulate on social media. Yeah.
There's plenty of footage of the IDF pulling out because they see children there. If it's obvious there's children there, they will not strike. Anyway, Jane in Marbella. Hola.
Hi. Hola.
What's up?
You know, BBC. I wonder how the BBC would be run now if Michael Grade was still Director General.
What difference would it make? I don't see the bent.
Well, Michael Grade.
Well, he's Jewish, isn't he? He's Jewish, yeah.
Is he?
I think so. Yeah.
Michael Grade, absolutely. His father and uncle.
Lou Grade, yeah.
Lou Grade and Bernard Delfont.
Yeah. Lord Delfont.
His dad was Bernard Delfont.
Yeah.
And Michael Grade was Director General for a few years before Greg Dyke took over.
Yeah.
I wonder how it would be run now.
But it was still a bit like that even then, wasn't it, the news department? Because, of course, the chairman can't really get involved with, the Director General. Director General, sorry.
Well, by the way, the Director General is legally the Editor-in-Chief.
Yeah, and they are legally responsible, and if they break the charter, the directors obviously, it could be considered fraud.
I mean, I'll tell you my favourite detail about the BBC. My favourite thing is that they published these emails in which somebody from the PR department emailed Martin Bashir saying, hey, we've been asked about this defence, saying we can't contact you because you're too ill. Can you explain the justification that we can't contact you? And he writes back an email explaining how they can't contact him because he's too ill. And they circulate. You've literally contacted him to say, can you explain why we can't contact you? And he's written the explanation. Oh, yeah.
Can I please bring another point up very quickly?
Yes.
All right, then.
Right, this is the song contest.
Yeah.
Can you please tell me why it is called Eurovision? It should be called International.
Because Eurovision is a strategic partnership between television companies in Europe and elsewhere.
Oh, okay. Because England shouldn't even be in it.
Well, you're right, actually. But Shane, tell us what's going on, because we've got real bad weather. Have you got better weather where you are?
It's getting chilly.
Ah.
It's getting chilly.
Oh dear.
You need a puffer jacket now.
Are you staying in Spain now? You're never coming back here, or do you ever come back and visit?
I've lived here 17 years.
And what do you come and visit? And what do you think of the country, how it is now? When you
do I come and visit? Maybe I visit every 2 years.
And what have you seen? Because that's a good gap.
I think of it? Yeah. It's not really fair, because when I come over, I go to my sister's house. I see my niece and nephew in England. That is all. I'm not a sightseer.
Sure.
All right, Jane. Well, thank you.
And then I go to another country,
Wales,
to see a nephew who was involved with the Maccabi Tel Aviv football.
Oh yeah, what was he? What was he, a player or?
Big problem. No. My young nephew, great nephew of 10, is a spectator and was heartbroken that he couldn't go to England, to Aston Villa, to see the match.
Yeah. Well, it's it was a great thing to go to Villa Park, a great stadium, a classic.
Yeah.
It's not that
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And he was hoping to see William.
Oh yeah, big Villa fan himself, isn't he, William?
Big William fan.
Yeah, man.
I still know what's going on in England.
All right, Jane.
And I'm actually very, very cross with Spain today.
Are you? What, for the Eurovision?
They are boycotting Eurovision.
Yeah, but those whining, they can all stay at home. We don't care. We'll all be at our Eurovision parties. Do you celebrate? Do you go to a Eurovision party?
No, don't bother with it.
Also, I'm just going to make one criticism of Spain.
Too long.
I'm going to make one criticism of Spain. There's nothing wrong with having a speech impediment, but when you don't have a speech impediment, don't pretend you do. You know, Taditho. No, you don't have a lisp. You don't have a lisp. It's chorizo. Right? Don't impersonate a speech impediment. It's a very serious problem for many people, and you are mocking it. It's what I call cultural appropriation of speech impedimentry.
And on that bombshell, we'll take a break. Back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, yes, this is Talk. This is Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And I want to just say one thing. Right, I was saying, if Ben Fletcher's coming in, he's going to do the handover in a minute. And I said, look, you know, I don't always understand all the sporting stuff. And Chuck said, don't worry, it was brilliant last week. Just do what you... Oh, he went, oh, no, it was Pete Barnes. Pete Barnes was good. Like, you weren't here, were you? All right, cut me, I'll believe.
Yeah, it's brilliant. No, we just swing it. Like Talk Sport, they don't know anything about sport either. But anyway, look, we're going to go to the Crew Kern Man. They were aiming for a Christmas #1 with their sort of Farage, Starmer, and it's incredible what they've done with Farage. I didn't know this was biologically possible. But let's have a look at the Crew Kern Man video, creator from the Crew Kern Gazette, and let's have a look at the video.
Available on iTunes.
On iTunes, Amazon. Let's see, it could be Christmas #1.
Hey, hey! Special delivery for Sir here. Hey! Santa suit, shiny boots, jingle on the floor. Knock, knock, number 10, Kier opened the door. Made my list, checked it twice, guess who's there again? Nigel Claus is coming down the flue at number 10. Hey, hey! Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey! I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump at number 10. Candy canes, tinsel chains, chimney nice and wide. Kier's got spin for Christmas, Santa's got a slide. Presents for the people, Kier can keep the pen. I'm leaving him a parcel right at number 10. Hey, hey, Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey, I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump at number 10. Hey, hey, Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey, I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump at number 10. Hey, hey, Santa dump at number 10. Hey, hey, I'll dump on Kier. And then, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's count to 10. Dump, dump, dump
That is the Crewkern Gazette with their hope. The Crewkern man from the Crewkern Gazette, and that's hope. They're hoping they're going to get a #1 with that. Take a dump on number 10.
Can I tell you my story about my attendance at 10 Downing Street?
Yeah, go on then.
Right, so I joined the House of Commons press lobby through a technicality, right? I was technically a foreign journalist, I qualified. They all hated me. Just A, they didn't like me to start with, and B, they hated the fact I'd qualified as a foreign journalist. Like, they put a list of all the lobby correspondents and didn't include my name. Anyway, the first week I was there, they went, "Are you coming to the Christmas party at 10 Downing Street?" I went, "Yeah, all right, fair enough." So I walked in, knowing nobody would speak to me at all. And I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll go in, I'll get chatting to people. And then nobody was talking to me. But they also took my mobile phone off me.
What year was this then?
I can't remember. But
who was Prime Minister at the time?
David Cameron.
All right.
Let me tell you what I did for 2 hours. I walked around pretending to look at the paintings as nobody talked to me. Like for 2 solid hours, just going, "Oh, I can't do another lap. It's so obvious."
Well, they've all been taken down, those paintings now, haven't they? I mean, Lammy took down the picture of the Queen and put up some strange sort of... Well, they weren't even African flags. They weren't actual Pan-African sort of art.
The thing is about number 10 Downing Street, it's actually not that impressive.
No, but it's like 3 houses, isn't it? I mean, it's 3 houses put together going all the way to St James's Park. It's quite big inside. It is like a TARDIS, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming up after this, we've got Ben Fletcher. He's going to be Talk Sport and Talk TV all joined up.
He's a polished man, isn't he? He always looks the part.
He likes polishing.
Ben Fletcher.
He's just got a new carpet. He's going to talk to us about it.
Is that a euphemism?
I don't know. We're going to talk about his new... Let's talk to Heather in Govan first, though, and get Ben in. All right, Heather.
Hi, I love that new #1 of Nigel Farage's song. That's definitely Christmas #1.
Hey!
Is that it?
Crack on!
Yeah, man. Anything else?
And tell you what, it'll be rocking this Christmas with that #1 Nigel Farage's song for Christmas. And let's hope we get Nigel Farage in for real as the Prime Minister of this country.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. You're not wrong
Let's have a rocking Nigel Farage Christmas.
That is Heather in Govan, who's opening for Nigel Farage #1 Christmas, and Ben is just coming in. He's getting ready. He's going to talk about carpets.
Hey, by the way, talking of over Christmas, what days are you doing over Christmas?
Well, I always have the bank holidays off, so I won't be here on Christmas or Boxing Day, which is actually Thursday and Friday. It's our show, and New Year's Day. So are you doing a show there? Because often it's a lot of best
I'll tell you what we're going
to... Danielle, yeah, you're doing a show with Danielle. So that'll be funny. You're going to be dressed up as Father Christmas, are you? And she'll be like the Grinch.
Well, I mean,
I was the Grinch last year.
She'll wear that low. She'll wear that low. I'll do anything that makes her do that low cut thing.
Top.
So I'm doing Christmas Eve, and I'm then doing the 29th of December, the 30th of December, New Year's Eve, and then the 1st of January.
We'll make sure you got a bit of Christ involvement in it for Ken's. It's a walkathon. Ben Fletcher.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good evening.
Carpets, Ben. Carpet.
Yeah. How do you know about that?
With the words on the street? You've been buying a new carpet.
Yeah, I had 2 carpets laid today. Upstairs bedroom and the lounge. It was the master bedroom last week, so yeah, nice
what
new
sort
carpets.
of carpet? Shag pile, nice thick, like 70s?
Not
stuff?
too thick, because if you have too thick carpet, whenever you walk on it, it leaves footprints. Yeah, and you go around just sort of like trying to put them out. So medium, somewhere in the middle.
And how
comfort
much?
And the durability.
If call Ben if you want for carpet stories, he'll be doing that after us. And so, what are you talking? What non-sport stuff are you talking about? Anything?
We've got Steve Blacknell coming on.
Yeah.
He was the guy who interviewed Phil Collins on the Heathrow tarmac on the day of Live Aid.
Oh, wow.
When he flew over to Philadelphia.
On Concorde. Because he performed at Wembley and then he went and performed, where was it? In
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, in 24 hours.
Exactly. So he had a hell of a long day. So he'll be coming on. He's got a book out, Tales from the Bedroom Wall. And it's all about his sort of musical influences and that type of thing. Really, really interesting career. He went from, in his own words, like literally cleaning toilets to working at Decca Records in quite a high-profile role in a very short space of time. All the struggles that came with that, the success,
and then
the
back
highs, the
to
lows.
cleaning toilets. It's been a roller coaster ride.
Well, and I'll be doing a little bit of that during the advert breaks in our show. But yeah, lots coming up. Obviously, we'll be reacting to. I don't suppose you boys saw any of the World Cup draw, or as it's
we've been talking about it. We can do sport better than talk sport.
Tell me about Scotland. So I don't know a great deal about football, but I'm really excited. Any home nation getting through is great. I know it's more difficult for countries other than England, but tell me about Scotland. How are they going to get on?
Scotland, I think, will probably be all right. It's a rerun, pretty much, of their 1998 campaign. The last time they were at a World Cup, they had Brazil, Morocco and Norway. This year, they've got Brazil and Morocco in their group. And the other team is Haiti.
And what about the England runner? Do you think we'll be all right?
England will be fine. England will be...
Anyway, back to carpets. Tell us about your carpets.
Yeah, different shades of grey. Don't let anyone tell you that grey is out, because it isn't.
It's back in, isn't it?
Grey never went away.
Sorry, I'm going to do sport for a minute. So obviously I've got a friend of mine who's a big Northern Ireland fan, and he always says it's a small country, it's really hard, and if you qualify, it's brilliant. What has Scotland done this year that's propelled them?
Well, they won their group, which helps.
But are they a better team, or is it fluke?
I think a combination of factors. It was a smaller group. They had some great results. Steve Clark's, I just think, found the winning formula. And in football, in sport, in life, sometimes you just have to hit form at the right time. You have to have a bit of luck.
Well, I mean, Scotland really invented the passing game. William McGregor, Scottish, set up the Football League. You know, really, they were the originators of football in the world.
As a son of a Glaswegian, I'll absolutely get on board with that. But
what's your prediction of who's going to win overall?
I
mean, you can
Argentina
give a couple.
The defending champions. I mean, England, you'd think will be there or thereabouts, but